Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to a few people are still filtering in. Welcome to the February 2025 meeting of Community Board Two's Street Activities and Resilience Committee. We have a great agenda planned for tonight. We have representatives from CECM/SAPO who are coming to present to us, and we'll touch on a number of topics. I think it's been about a year since we last had a presentation, so it'll be great to have an update and cover some of the topics that have come up in the intervening year since that last touch point here. So our agenda tonight is we're going to start off with that presentation. There will be a time for Q&A from both the board and the public. And then after that, we will then move on probably around 8 p.m. I'm thinking we'll move on to the portion that is the street activity applications for this month. And we have around, how many do we have? We have, I think, around 9 or 10 applications. So without further ado, let us get started. Again, I'm Will Benish. I am the chair of the Street Activities Resilience Committee. Here in the room, we have Erica Olson, Amy Brenna, Eddie Siegel, Rocio Sands, and we have Ed Ma on the line. And I see we have many people who have come from CECM and SAPO. So maybe let me start by turning it over to you if you want to introduce who all we have here and kick off with your presentation. And once again, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Dawn Tolson. I'm the Executive Director of Citywide Event Coordination and Management and the Street Activity Permit Office. I have with me on my team today Shawnee Malloy, who is the Associate Director of Events. I have Selena Suis, who is the Associate Director of Operations. I believe we have Chris, who is the coordinator that manages all the permits for CB2. And I believe we also have Shanique Meacham, who is the head of the Street Activity Permit Office for our office. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see my screen.
Thank you. Yeah. And if possible for folks to change their names, that would be helpful as well, because I know everyone got signed in as Paresh. Thanks.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, here we go. Hi, everybody. As I said again, we are Citywide Event Coordination and Management and the Street Activity Permit Office. Just in case you didn't know, Citywide Events is an organization that brings together and oversees all large-scale events in New York City. We bring together all the producers with city agencies like the Buildings Department, the Health Department, our office is SAPO, NYPD. Any type of large-scale event that you're putting on, you would work with the Street Activity Permit Office, the Citywide Events, as well as the Street Activity Permit Office to put those things together. And we also recommend event policy to the mayor. For example, when drones came online with the NYPD, we worked with them as well as parks and other permitting agencies to outline the rules and regulations around drones and how they would be used within events within New York City. Here's just a brief agenda of what we're going to be covering today, which includes our permitting, Community Board 2, some stats about that, as well as the permit process, the Citywide Event Management System, and eApply. All right, so Citywide Events, like I said, we oversee all large-scale events in this New York City, all 5 boroughs. So those hip-hop block parties that you saw a couple years ago, we oversee those. The Rise Up concert series that happens every year under the mayor's purview, New Year's Eve, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, 4th of July, the Marathon, Holiday Open Streets, all of those large-scale impactful events, we oversee them, and we have individuals from our team that are out there working with those coordinators to put those events on and then attending the events and inspecting them and making sure that they're taking place correctly. So we are working on all the major holidays. Under SAPO, the Street Activity Permit Office, we permit agency permits as well. So Open Culture, which I'm sure some of you are interested in learning about those permits, Open Street Partner Events, those are the events that take place on open streets. Bike the Blocks is a DOT program. Summer Streets, I think a lot of you guys are familiar with that. bid events, and which we consider bid multi-block events or other outstanding bid events that occur on pedestrian plazas, water on the go, national night out, all of those activities, anything that happens in the street, even if it's a city agency or a city program, we also permit those as well. The third leg of citywide events is our database, and our database is where all of the applications that you submit for parks, NYPD, film, Brooklyn Bridge Park is in there too, DCAS, as well as Hudson River Park Trust. Those applications all live within our eApply system or our citywide event management system. So that's the 900 users that you see there, or the parks, PD, us, SAPO, film, Brooklyn Bridge Park, Hudson River Parks, and DCAS, as well as the community board. You guys are users of the CEMS system. And that anyone that is applying for an application, they use the eApply system, which is why those numbers are significantly higher, because those are the amount of applications that we have, or applicants that we have in the system that are submitting applications to us on a daily basis, and that's eApply. And those two systems work together, and they are managed by our IT department that is within Citywide Events. Here's just a look of last year of how many permits were actually approved, not applied for, but approved by these individual organizations that all have applications living within the system. And as you can see, Parks has a lot more than everybody else. That's because they do the ball fields, so they have a lot more applications on a regular and daily basis than any of the other applicants do. So SAPO permitting, let's get into what we do. What types of permits do we issue, the Street Activity Permit Office? We issue everything from a cleanup all the way down to a street festival, a block party, a fair, a religious event, demonstrations and rallies on pedestrian plazas, mobile units, block parties, plaza events. Anything that happens on a street, sidewalk, or pedestrian plaza, we permit it, and we have a permit for it. So if you're thinking about doing something, definitely, there's a permit category there for it. You just have to figure out what it is. And here are some examples of what those are and their deadlines. As we talked before, these are just the deadlines of those things, right? The block parties, the farmers markets, religious events, plazas. So the most events that take place in CB2 are the street events, the plaza events, and the production events. So I'm going to go into those in a little bit more detail and also highlight some information about civic events, because people seem to not quite understand what makes their event civic. How does it become free and cultural in nature? So we'll talk about that next. Okay, first of all, production events. Production events are very simple. You have a lot of production events in Community Board 2, and then a lot of things that pretend they're production events, but really aren't. Production event really only is the use of the curb lane that's the least impactful as possible, which means you don't really need NYPD there managing a production event, because all it is loading in and out or dropping off and picking up passengers. That's it. There's no high impact of overuse of the sidewalk. There's no overcrowding. It's very simple. It's a very low fee for that type of event and activity. It could be queuing on a sidewalk as well, as long as it's organized and there's not a celebrity component. But that's what a production is. There's no alcohol on it. There's no selling at it. And there's no celebrity component with it. Then you—
So Don, just real quick, I know one of the main topics we wanted to discuss that sort of has become more salient in the past year has to do with these kind of events. Would you prefer to talk about that now, or do you want to just go through the presentation and then we can go back on those topics? Like whatever.
I think we go through the presentation first, okay, because I'm going to break down like what's in each category, and then we'll talk about, questions afterwards.
Sounds good.
Okay. So then that's why I was kind of highlighting the fact that production is simple. The next level of event is a street event, and those can be small, medium, or large in size, right? Or extra large, depending on the impact. So a street event small, now this is when you start talking about an organization that's activating a food truck or something in the curb lane where it's promotional in nature. This is when you have a celebrity that's coming up, and we're going to have to, put pens for the media, and we have a viewing area for the public. That's when we start getting into the small street events. If it's just on the sidewalk, medium, if it's on the sidewalk and the curb lane using and taking up from the public space. And then a large is a full street closure. Anything that closes the street is a large, and therefore it needs coordination from other agencies, as well as, additional input from the community board. Large events and medium events, we're going to be doing site visits for, because that's highly more impactful. A small event, We wouldn't expect there to be that much. Sometimes we do go out there, especially if it's going to be promotional, just to make sure that they're in the right place that they should be, or if they're new to the area. But mostly we're going to have site visits for medium events, large events, and then extra large events. And extra large events is when you're utilizing more than one street. If your impact is so impactful that that it's going to affect more than one block, or if you're going to be using a pedestrian plaza in coordination with a street as well. That's what we consider an extra large event on its impact to the area as well as closures. These are the deadlines for those types of activities. Small, there's a reason why it's 14 days, and that's because it's not supposed to be impactful. Medium is 30 days, large is 45 days, and extra large are 60 days. And we need that time, obviously, because the community board needs to comment on these events and activities. And they need the time in order to do so, as well as all the other agencies that are involved in permitting these also need to take a look at them. So that's why the deadlines are what they are. I personally think we should give it more time, but this was the happy medium between everyone when we were making these rules. Okay, a plaza event. You do have plazas in CV2. Got Gansevoort, I believe, and you have Astor Place. And
Yeah.
so pedestrian plazas are those are where roadway has been taken back and established as a plaza for the bid. Sometimes it's a organization within the space, but within your bid, within your community board, the bids are the ones that run the plazas. And pedestrian plazas have their own fee schedule. They have their own decision point as to what is a large, medium, and small. It does not follow the same guidelines as the street outside of the concept of impact. So a plaza event small, it also depends on where you are, the fees that you pay for plaza events, but we're talking about Manhattan. So when you're looking at the numbers, just look at the Manhattan. There is only one level A plaza citywide, and that is Times Square currently. But there are new plazas coming online, so that may be changing soon. Plaza level, I believe the plazas that are in CV2 are all plaza level B plazas. And so that's the price point that you should be looking at as you're looking at these slides. So a small event on a pedestrian plaza is less than 25% of the pedestrian plaza, and that the attendance is less than 25%. So that means that we're talking about impact. And then it can have amplified sound or it doesn't matter. It can or cannot have amplified sound with a small event. But we're looking to ensure that the impact, so even if you have a 10 by 10 pop-up tent that you're thinking is really small, but the person in that tent is a celebrity and they could be having more people show up in the plaza, that can move you from a size small to a size medium or a large. A medium is 25% of 50% of the square footage of the plaza, but then we have to look at impact. So let's say that you had some tables and chairs and a tent with some information, but the person giving away the information was Shakira, then more than likely you're going to have a large, because the expectation is that promotion's going out and you're going to probably shut down the entire plaza because of the person giving away the information, even though the actual physical footprint is small enough that it could be a medium. The actual impact to the space is large, and so therefore you're charged at the large rate. These are the deadlines for the plaza, levels A, B, C, and D. But again, we're looking at plaza level B. So everything is at the very minimum 30 days in advance and a maximum of 45 days in advance. Again, this doesn't mean if for extra large. There are some events that occurred last year in Gansevoort. It was the Bridgerton event, which was considered an extra large. So their deadline was 60 days in advance. It wasn't 45. And they had to pay fees that were extra large because they were using not just the plaza, but the plaza and the street. Single block festivals. So single block festivals and street festivals are another category, and is the only category where an individual can sell within an event. And single block festivals are for one block, one day, and you have to have an indigenous relationship to the community on a single block festival. That is very important. The deadlines are 90 days in advance, and an organization can only host 2 street fairs within a calendar year. So that means if they have one single block festival and one street festival, then that's it. It's a combination of the both. Both single block festivals and street festivals are street fairs, but they're just different types. So a street festival, this is an organization that it does say it has to have an indigenous relationship, but there's also a caveat with regard to street festivals. And that's the fact that they're the only category of permits that SAPO issues that are currently under a moratorium. And that means that no new events can take place. And those events are kind of frozen in time. Wherever they took place, even if the community around them changes, they are required to not change the date, the location, or the size of their event because of the moratorium. And whatever took place in the previous year has to take place in the next year. And they can only have an event in the next year if it occurred in the previous year. So all street festivals, which are multi-day, multi-block, or a combination of both, have to apply by December 31st of the preceding year in order to maintain their status. And they have to have it take place the next year. There are some people that sometimes apply but then don't have an event. That means that they lose the event for the future.
What year did the moratorium go into place?
The moratorium went into place in 2007.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been there. And when I say the beginning of time, the beginning of time. And so communities have changed around these fairs, but because of the moratorium, there's really not much we can do with regard to changing their locations because they are required to kind of stay in the same place. It's stuck and frozen in time. Block parties. Block parties are, a lot of people apply for a block party because they think they're a block party, but block parties are kind of an exception to a rule. Basically, if you don't fit into any other category, then more than likely you are a block party, but you don't start out with choosing block party. Block parties are specific to the block association and the people living on the block. They're the one category that does not require insurance. They do not require health department certifications, and they don't have any additional fees outside of the $25 application fee. And that is the reason why block parties are very niche, and they're only for people that are residents of a block, not a community, but the residents of a block that are coming together, bringing their own food, not catered, not sold from a food truck within the footprint, because all those are different. They're bringing their own food outside and communing together as a community on the block as a residents of those blocks. That is what a block party is.
And there can be no commercial element whatsoever, right?
It should have no commercial element whatsoever because all of those are promotion, which means that it would fit into a different category.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of back and forth about these block parties where we have people that continue to say, oh, well, I have a flyer and I'm marketing my block party. And, people or I have a ride at my block party and I'm charging to, giving tickets away to sell. And I'm like, that's not a block party. You're a street event, right? Or you're something else. And so we try to have those conversations and we try to get site plans and understanding of what you're doing at a block party because it literally is only that. And there's a reason for it because there's no insurance, there's no health department regulations, and there's no fees. And those are three things that would be required in any other category outside of a block party. You can call your event a block party. You can name it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it might be a street event, not a block party. Does that make sense? As under our categorization.
Yep.
Health fairs are kind of like the street festival that doesn't sell. So health fairs, they're supposed to be a documented non-for-profit. There's supposed to be vendors that just promote in-kind services. There's no sale. There's no promotion of, seasonings to sell, whatever it is. It's not something where you're promoting something in order for someone to purchase something. That's not a health fair. Health fairs are mostly health vendors. If you want to have rides and activities for the kids in addition to the health elements, then that's fine. But the purpose of a health fair is to give information to the public. It is not to promote activities or to promote your organization for sales at a future date. Health vendors do not pay a fee to participate. There is an insurance requirement, the application fee is the only cost associated with it, which is $25. Farmers markets. Farmers markets, the only type of individuals that apply for farmers markets are agricultural type groups. You need to have agricultural type food permits if you're running a farmers market. And that Chanel Green is the person that manages these on our team. And it's an open air market where you can sell foods. But again, they need to be grown, raised, caught, or baked by local farmers and fishers and they are selling it to the general public. So they have to be local to New York City. And that because they have to have local or New York State agricultural permits in order to sell at a farmer's market. Farmers markets, some of them actually also have the opportunity to do sampling of wine, but that's because they are a vineyard and they have a special type of farmers market vineyard, farmers market sampling permit. A regular SLA permit does not work at a farmers market. Civic events. I put up civic events because civic events are the type of events that are street events, but they can be deemed to be civic in nature. But in order for a street event to be deemed civic, it has to have specific criteria. And that is, it needs to be sponsored by a nonprofit organization. It needs to be open to the public. There can be no fundraising components whatsoever. And it has to have some type of artistic or cultural, educational. It has to support the mission of the nonprofit organizations. So if we have, for example, a church and they want to do a car show, that doesn't make sense because how is a car show furthering the mission of the church, right? So if you have a school that's an educational entity, why would they have a concert? Well, how does the concert further the mission of the school? So I always have to have that conversation with folks where they're like, no, my event is civic because I'm a school, or my event is civic because I'm a church. And I'm like, yeah, but you're having a car show. What does a car show have to do with the mission of the church? Or what does a concert have to do with the mission of the school of education? So you have to follow those guidelines in order to be considered civic in nature, or you're subject to the fees associated with that event, which is the standard fee. And then if you're a nonprofit, you pay 20% of that fee, which also takes us to charitable events. So charitable events, this is when we are talking about it's a civic event. I'm sorry, it's a street event, but it's charitable in nature, which means the sole purpose for that event is to get donations of goods and services for the community for free. So there are a lot of churches that fall under charitable events because they do fundraising for their parish, but any type of fundraising or fees have to take place on private property. Sometimes what they do is they will sell tickets for rides, and the rides are on the street. The ticket sales do not happen on the street because, again, they're not allowed to sell on the street, but the ticket sales could happen inside the church, and then the church could issue those tickets to host the rides on the street.
So Don, are these sort of subcategories like could a single block festival could be labeled as a civic or charitable event?
No.
Right? No,
So they are by default charitable because they have charitable sponsors. These are street events where we're not having vendors selling, but we have an activity where the sole purpose of it is to raise funds. Bids do this, right?
So these are subcategories of street events. Got it.
These are subcategories of street events that can be considered charitable or civic. But a lot of people like to say, oh, my event is civic. I don't have to pay any fees. And we're like, is it though? Is it really? And so that's why I want to bring this up to make sure that if you're looking to have a civic event, if you're looking to have a charitable event, it has to further the mission of your organization. And there are still rules and regulations that it has to adhere to around signage and sponsorships. So all of that is what makes and determines that your event is actually civic or actually charitable. For example, you can't have, Toyota as your marquee sponsor and have Toyota's banner on the top, because then we would consider that to be a regular standard street event, not a charitable event. It needs to have the organization's name with only 10% of the banner being the supporting sponsors that you're working with.
Got it. So if it's like a street event medium and it's deemed charitable, instead of $11,000, it's, $2,000, whatever.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Correct. Religious events. Yes, we have a category for that because a lot of people are like, oh, well, my event is religious, so I'm fine. I don't need a permit. Actually, we do have a category for religious events. And it's an act of public worship on the streets or sidewalk, serves a benefit to the community. Again, there's no fundraising or sale of goods and services. So you shouldn't be selling anything to the public under a religious event. Rallies and stationary demonstrations. Rallies and demonstrations for us are only on pedestrian plazas. There are a lot of people that want to do rallies in the street. That's fine. You work with the NYPD. They have a portal, apply there. But because pedestrian plazas are not the street, there were rules written by DOT to say this is no longer a street, is a different space that's called a pedestrian plaza. You must put in an application with our office if you would like to use a pedestrian plaza for a stationary demonstration or a rally, because we hold the permitting responsibility for those spaces. Just like a park. If you wanted to do a rally or a demonstration in a park, you would have to put in a Parks Department permit and not a NYPD permit. For a rally and demonstration, if you want to hold that on a pedestrian plaza, you must put in a plaza permit for that. Plazas are different spaces, and they have already programmed activity that occur there on a daily basis from the bid. And so therefore, we would be displacing that normal activity for that rally and demonstration to take place. Press conferences, we permit these. They could take place anywhere. And then again, it's just a convening with minimal elements, no commercial or promotional activity or charitable events. So if your press conference is for, to release the new album of XYZ, that's not a press conference. That's considered commercial and promotional, which means you're back to a street event. Cleanups, we also do. Cleanups are just, again, cleanups are kind of in the same category as block parties in the fact that it's very specific and unique. It's for a sole and single purpose and shouldn't be used for anything else. And cleanups, again, you have to be a documented not-for-profit, community sponsor, someone with a relationship to the community, and you're cleaning one block for one day. And there's specific hours of cleanups that can take place. And it's no more than 4 hours and no sale of goods or services. We had new event types in 2024. And so we're still marketing them as such. One of them being the open culture events, because the rule was made that we would be issuing permits for open culture, and it hasn't been a year yet. Open culture are a specific, very unique type of application. It is a subset of a charitable event, subset of a subset. And then it is just for a group of organizations that have, what is it specifically? Selena, what's the type of group?
Arts and cultural organizations.
Yeah,
so
just
a museum or a dance group.
Yeah, and so it's only an arts and cultural institution, and an arts and cultural institution has a very narrow definition on our website. You have to actually have a letter from DCLA or from you're muted, Selena.
The Borough Arts Council.
Or the Borough Arts Council in order to have an open culture event. And you have to have proof, and you have to provide documentation to us if you want to categorize your event under open culture. And the requirement is upfront that you provide that documentation when you log on to the system to apply. And then the Open Street Partner event, our DOT has an Open Street Partner program where organizations, nonprofits can apply to have their street closed, and they manage that closure. Those organizers are allowed to apply with our office and only them to host events on those closed streets. And we permit those events on their behalf for them in conjunction with DOT's authorization of them being an open partner that manages that location. And I know you guys have some open streets within your space, because I know there's some around Gansevoort, and the BID manages those. Here is a fee schedule for all of our events, just so at a glance. And as you can tell, extra large events, $66K. That's very impactful events that have a lot of impact on the community and require a lot of NYPD resources to manage. Okay, here are some stats about Community Board 2. Last year, we provided 23 stats, so now we're providing 24 stats. And we had over 6,073 permits that we approved citywide overall for us. And then in Manhattan, 2,633 of those took place within the borough of Manhattan. And Community Board 2 is the second largest event activities borough in Manhattan after CB5. And here we go. Here are some of the events that took place in Manhattan. There were 477 permits approved. And here are the top contenders: street events, followed by production, followed by plaza partner events and plaza events, then single block festivals, street festivals, block parties, and finally sidewalk sales. And I don't think I had a slide on sidewalk sales, but sidewalk sales are when organizations resell goods. So it's kind of like we don't use the term flea market, but it's not a standard street festival. It's a reselling of previously owned goods. Just at a glance, civic versus commercial events that took place within CB2, or sorry, overall for the year. No, this is CB2, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There were 24 street events, 12 plaza events, which were civic events, and there were 183 street events and 17 plaza events that were actually commercial in nature. So as you can see, there were definitely more civic events than commercial events that took place in CB2 last year. We like to put this slide up only to just distinguish between us and MOM. MOM definitely issues more permits than we do. So sometimes because they have street closures or are included in their permits, a lot of people think sometimes it's us, it's not. So sometimes someone's out there and it could be under a film permit and not a SAPO permit. We are always here to answer questions. So if you see something that shouldn't be going on and you think it's not us or you think it might be us, please reach out and we're happy to verify whether it is our permit or not. And then there's some people that are just legitimately doing illegal things. So we'd love to know so that we can treat them accordingly, get their information, and make sure they're doing things correctly in the future. So now we're going to go to eApply. If you wanted to apply for an application with our office, you would create an eApply account, log in, you would choose the event type, you're going to fill out a questionnaire, and then you're going to pay a processing fee and submit that application. And this is what it would look like. You go to our website, you click on apply for a permit, you fill in your username and password, and it's going to take you into your eApply account if you have an existing one. If you don't have an existing one, you're going to go to the next stop where you're going to have this page pop up where it asks you what type of event are you looking to host. Here is also great information on each of those types of events so that you can just read it and double check that that's the correct event you're applying for. You submit, and then you start putting in your contact information. You put in your name, your address, all of that stuff, your email address. Email address is important because make sure it's spelled correctly. The email address that's associated with your application is your unique identifier in the system. It doesn't change, and we can't change it. We can't transfer an application from one person to another. So just make sure that your email account is always spelled correctly when you're creating a new account. You can put in a sponsor information if you have a sponsor working with you. You can put in a producer information if you have a producer working with you to manage your event. All that information is captured. And then it's going to ask you to put in the location and event information. So we're talking about where the event information. So we're talking about the name of the event and then the days that it's taking place. Depending on the type of event, you may be allowed to choose more frequent days, like 2 or 3 days in a row, or reoccurring dates, depending. But some event types don't allow for that. Then you're going to put in the location, the street that it's taking place on, and the 2 cross streets. And then you begin filling out the questionnaire. And now a lot of people are like, why do you have 34 questions? The reason why we have 34 questions is because we're trying to make sure that your event truly is what it says it is, number one, and two, to make sure that whatever elements that you have in your event, we're giving you information on whether or not they require a supporting permit. So we're asking you questions like, is there commercial branding? Is there live entertainment? If there's not, just click no. But if sometimes you come across a question, you're like, well, wait a minute, yeah. Or, well, will you have a generator that's over a certain size? It makes you stop and check that generator and to see what size it is, because things over a certain size or a certain height or a certain threshold require additional permits. So that's why it's 34 questions. But if you take your time and go through it carefully, you'll realize that when you're done, all that information relates back to information that we're sending you on how to process your permit in the most effective way. And we're also ruling out things that are not occurring in your application, and we're confirming that you understand that if these things do occur within your application, that there are other steps that you must take. At this point in time, you can upload additional documentation. Like, for example, if you're a nonprofit organization, you can upload your proof of nonprofit status, which is your 501c3 documentation or your charitable paperwork. And then you're going to review. Reviewing is very important. Like I said, we want to make sure all of the email addresses, all the telephone numbers are correct, because that is how we will communicate with you once the application has been submitted. Then you go on to the payment page. For city agencies, there is a waiver code. For communities, community boards, there's a waiver code. For all other folks, that you're going to have to pay that $25 application fee. Then once you hit submit, SAPO is going to retrieve the application. We're going to review it with other agencies. We're going to request other documentations to be submitted to us. The community board and the NYPD have a right to comment, as well as the bid, depending on if your event and activity takes place within a bid. You're going to have to come before the community board if they ask you to provide them more information. And then once we feel that we're in a good place and you've submitted all the documentation and we've assessed you, if there is a fee, you have to pay the fee. And then you will issue you the SAPO permit, and then someone from the team will come and take a look at your event, depending on the size and impact. I also want to say that if you do apply and you are denied, you do have a recourse. If you are denied by the community board, you have the right, you have 5 days, and you have to be given 5 days in order to appeal that denial. And you can appeal that denial directly to the Street Activity Permit Office, which would be Shanique Meacham, who's heading that office. If Shanique then in turn denies you as well, you have one more chance to appeal to myself, who is the Executive Director of CECM. And then if I was to deny you then as well, then your event will be denied. Some things to also consider when you're hosting events in New York City is that our approval does not necessarily constitute permission for you to go ahead and have elements within the event that are not approved by other agencies. A part of that questionnaire is to make sure that you're checking off what you're actually doing. If you don't fill in the application and questionnaire correctly, and we are unaware of elements that are taking place, like say you forgot to tell us that you had a fire breather, and then we show up and there's someone blowing fire in the street, then that means that you didn't get the correct permits for it. So that fire breather is going to have to go bye-bye because it was not approved by other agencies. All of our events require $1 million insurance policy at minimum. If you have elements like alcohol and other things that could be constituted as at risk, we might increase the cost of the insurance policy and require more insurance. Applications for street fairs, and we talked about this already, there's only 2 allowed per calendar year. All street events must recycle, you must leave this and clean up. You have to have a cleanup plan. You must leave the street equal to or better than how you received it. And every event that has a full street closure must have a fire lane of 15 feet. These are some additional requirements or flags that we want to make you aware of. ADA requirements must be adhered to within your events that are taking place in the city of New York. And if you have a question with regard to that, we can put you in contact with MLPD, Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, and then a flag that our events, there are no rain dates. And that if you cancel the event, like for example, a street event, medium or large or extra large, and we've been working on it for 45 days, and then you cancel that event less than 7 days before the activity, then you won't receive a refund. You'll only receive 10% back at most for that event. Just to go into e-apply for a little bit more, this is actually what happens once you hit submit. Once you hit submit, you can log back in. As a matter of fact, you have to log back in. A lot of people hit the submit button and then they think, okay, we're good. SAPO's just going to tell me when I have a permit. That's not how it works. Once you submit it, you have to log back into your account, and then you'll be able to see the account under submitted. You click on your email application and it'll take you to the screen for the event summary where all of the information that you provided to us is there. If, let's say, you checked it, but for some reason something is still wrong, then you have to let us know to make that change. And at this point, you can't change anything to your application without corresponding with SAPO first. So you go in, you take a look at it, you make note of your event ID. Whenever you're responding or corresponding with anyone outside of our agency, the event ID is the best way to get the most information about your event quickly, because we have so many event applications. If you say, oh, it's the block party for my friend, that's not helpful to us because we have a lot of block parties for a lot of friends. That event ID is the unique identifier that you should be talking about if you're corresponding with our office or anyone about your event application. You can also see a map of what you submitted. Click on that map feature. Make sure it's actually where you wanted it to be, because sometimes there may be other streets with similar names. And when we look at the application, it's not really where you want it to be. So it's good to just double check that and make sure that that is where you actually intended to apply. There are instructions. So that 34-point questionnaire, it leads back to these instructions. For example, if you said that you had a tow hook generator, you're given contact information for FDNY on who you should be reaching out to get a permit for said tow truck generator. DEP, if it's over 400 kilowatts, that means that it's going to have sound impacts. So you might need a DEP regulation for sound as well as emissions to go along with your 40K kilowatt generator. So every question that you ask has an instructions associated with it. And when you log back into your application, you click on the instructions and you can see what instructions were triggered based on the questions that you answered or how you answered those questions. You can then go into documents. You can upload all the information that we need for your application. When you log in and click on documents, it's going to tell you all the documents that we need in order to process your application. If anything is red, that means we do not have the document, which means that we are waiting for that documentation before we can move forward with your application. They will show up in red if we don't have them. They'll be green and checked off if you have submitted them and if we have approved those things. This is the place where you would upload any new documents. You choose the file type, which should correspond to the document that you are uploading. Upload the documentation, and then we will review it. Here are some documents that we might ask for: vendor list, site plan, production schedule, proof of nonprofit status, and insurance. We have a resource library now. So if you don't know what a vendor's list or a site plan or production schedule looks like, or what that even means, you should go to the resource library, which you can find inside eApply on the left-hand side. And here are samples and templates that you can use, as well as instructions on how to submit or how long it's going to take for your application to be processed. All of this information is in there in the resource library, so we encourage you to go there and look at it if you have questions. And then if you still have questions, you can reach out to us through correspondence. Here are some samples of what you would find in the resource library. This is a sample of a production schedule and a run of show, which includes like the breakdown, the setup date, the location, the time, the event name. All of that is included in production schedules and run of show. And here's a sample of what an insurance requirement would look like, where it actually specifically tells you what we want on your insurance certificate. I cannot tell you how often we receive insurance certificates, and they have all sorts of information on there that doesn't relate back to our office or the city of New York. They'll have the ride company, they'll have the production company, and then they won't insure the city of New York. Our request for insurance is to cover the mayor's office, CECM, and SAPO. So please do adhere to the insurance instructions that are uploaded to your application. This is what a site plan looks like. This is a sample. It should have a 15-foot 15-foot pedestrian walkway if you're in the sidewalk, or a 5-foot pedestrian sidewalk access if you're on the sidewalk, and a 15-foot fire lane if you're in the street. This is a sample of a site plan of a small, and as you can see, it's just got a tent and maybe a table on it on the sidewalk, and that is standard for a small. This is an example of a medium that we were talking about before, where it's the use of the curb lane as well as the sidewalk. And we've got some rope and stanchion there on the sidewalk. And then we have a truck and a tent in the curb lane. And then this is an example of a full street closure. We've used vendors on this. So let's call this a street festival or a street fair, where the fire lane goes down the middle. It's 15 feet clear and the vendors are on either side in the curb lane. That's the kind of detail that we're looking for when we ask for a site map. Sometimes we get some hand-drawn information that's just way off, or a Google map with a triangle on it or a square. That is not what we're looking for. We're looking for detailed information on this scale, where it shows us exactly kind of what we're looking for with regard to those aspects of trucks, tents, stanchion, that type of thing when we're building these out. Within eApply itself, we send you notifications when we're missing this documentation. So we send you a notification 7 days out. These are the documents that you're missing, whether it be site plan, insurance, or otherwise. 14 days out, we're going to send you a 14 days out, we're going to send you a notification saying, okay, look in, you're missing something. 7 days out, we send you a notification. If we still haven't gotten anything by 7 days out, you're looking at a denial, because we don't have enough time to review your application. The community board clearly does not have enough time to review your application. So we try our best to get as much information as we can from you, but there is a point after 7 days where we have to deny you because we don't have the time to process your application at that point. This is how you can talk to us or change anything on your application. There's a correspondent tab where you can click on it, choose your topic from a drop-down menu, whether you want to change a date, make an appeal, have an invoice question, or whatever it is. We have a lot more categories that you can choose from, but you choose the category that you want to talk to us about, you type in your correspondence, and you hit submit. When you hit submit, you'll get a notification. You're automatically notified that you sent a correspondence. SAPO is automatically notified that a correspondence is associated with your event. We review your question, it is saved. SAPO will write your response, that is also saved, and you'll also be notified that SAPO sent you a response. And this is how you can correspond back and forth with the Street Activity Permit Office about your application. We keep everything in correspondence so that we have a historical timeline of what occurred with regard to your application. All of the notifications we send you are noted in correspondence so that you can see that you've been notified. And everything else lives in there. And that's how we talk to you about any changes that we make on your application. If you're denied it's in correspondence, everything is within correspondence. So you should go in there and take a look if you don't feel like your application is moving fast enough. And you can see whether or not you're missing documentations, whether or not we've sent you a note and you just haven't responded. It lives in correspondence on your application. And that's it for eApply. Here are some resources if you were looking to just find events in general that are occurring within New York City that have been approved. You can go to find events on our website. You can click on that area and then you can search by event type, film, parks, PD, SAPO, the type of event and the date range, and it'll populate those events that are upcoming. And if you want a larger—
Go back to that website real quick. Sorry, what was that website again?
This is just our CECM website. So you can go to SAPO and go to find events, or CECM and go to find events. And this is, you can search there for any events. Now, if you want to do a deeper search of all events for historical events, because we have a pretty, I think it's like a month out. But if you want to go back to historical permits from the beginning of time, that lives on Open Data. And that is we can drop the link in there. Shawnee can get you the link and she'll drop, I don't know if we have a chat, but
There's a chat. Yeah, that's helpful because sometimes we have questions arise as to, okay, we saw this event and was it permitted or not? And, we try to review every event we can here, but just given the short turnaround of certain event types, some of them are impossible for us to review, only meeting once a month. And so it's really helpful to know that, okay, there's a link we can go back and look at past events and see if they were in fact
100%
permitted or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And this again, if it's within the year, our website is great. If it's beyond that, you should use Open Data.
Okay.
And do you have a link for the Open Data that will take you to a searchable page, or do we have to navigate that?
I think we might have one that lands on city government so that you're right under safe.
The third
Oh,
one.
Shawnee,
I dropped them all in the chat,
there you
including
go.
to open data.
Shawnee to the rescue. Thank you.
That's really helpful.
And that's it.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Donna. That was really helpful. I know we had sent over kind of 4 topics that were some of the salient topics that came up this year. Maybe just since we were just talking about eApply, I'll start with that one. And actually, Pete literally asked the same question I was going to ask. So these event resources, one of the things that's come up is we had people come to us, and actually, a lot of the commercial events, they're done by, professional organizations who do this all the time. They know exactly what to do. But oftentimes people trying to put on, local events, and actually stuff that we would generally like to support, they don't really know what to do. And so we wanted to know kind of what resources there are for someone coming into this who really has no experience at all. And that resource, that event resource library, I think would be really useful. Do you have to like create an account and stuff to see that? Or is that just publicly available? Is there a way to make it publicly available kind of to everyone? I think that,
well, the point is that if you're applying for it, then you're already in there.
Yeah. But I guess like some people don't even know whether to apply initially for like a small, or like they don't know what they're doing at all.
So on our website is the information about what a small, medium, and large is, right? Which is, I'm going to use a sidewalk, I'm going to use a curb lane, I'm going to use a sidewalk on a curb lane. But once they do that and they're inside the event activities and they see the documents that they need in order to, because again, the moment you apply, it tells you what documents you're missing. When you log in, you'll see these are the documents you're missing. And then when you do that, you go, okay, let me go click on the resource library, right? And all of the templates are there. Vendor, all the information that you would need is there.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess like it's pretty straightforward, and we can help guide them as well because we know enough to be dangerous as to like, okay, this sounds like this kind of event. Go ahead and create the thing in the system, and then you'll see all the resources to help you take the next step.
Yeah, but remember, it's gonna be a street. So the goal is that, even if you're applying for the wrong application, we'll help you fix it, right? We're gonna when we pull that application, if you've got all these things on it and we know it can't fit on a sidewalk, then we're gonna say, hey, we know this is you applied for a small event, but it's really gonna probably be a medium, right? Or you applied for a street event, but over here you said that you're selling something. So this is not a street event. It's actually a street festival, right? So Chris would be pulling your event and he'd be reviewing it to make sure it actually is what it's supposed to be. We also have a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I'm applying for a production event. There's nothing happening. And in the description, they have, John Bon Jovi is coming into our store, but we're only applying for rope and stanchion. Wait a minute, what? How is John Bon Jovi getting to your store? Are you advertising the fact that John Bon Jovi is there, right? The celebrity component automatically triggers it. And so we're going to have a conversation to say, this is not a small event because John Bon Jovi is coming to your store. Are you advertising it? Oh yeah, we plan to send out a promotion that he's coming. How long he's going to be there? Oh, 3 hours. No, he's not. He can't be there for 3 hours because he's there signing autographs for 3 hours. That gives 3 hours for everybody that loves John Bon Jovi in the New York City area, potentially even up to the, Pennsylvania or New Jersey, to come on down to New York City and stand in line to see John Bon Jovi. We don't want that. So we have those conversations with folks that are sometimes having internal events as to how they impact the external aspects of it. And again, our fees are also related to impact because NYPD costs are sometimes included or thought of a tiny percentage of the impact of the resources for NYPD is included in our permits. So we're expecting that if you are going to have an overflow or take over a sidewalk and a curb lane for your interior event, you need an exterior permit because you're impacting the street and the sidewalk as well. Any activity that impacts the sidewalk and the street, you need a permit for.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that's actually touching on another topic, but let me just close this first one out really quick. So would your suggestion be like if someone comes to us and says, I have no idea what to do, but I want to throw an event, what do I do? Would it just be go ahead and get into the system as quickly as possible?
Yes.
Here's what it sounds like you're doing. You'll gain access to a resource library, and then you'll be back in contact with SAPO and they'll help you correct it if there's any issues. Because what
Right.
might happen is people come to us and they might barely get it in before the deadline. They might have already missed the deadline. And then they're like, oh, well, we want to do this and we want to do this. But I'm like, okay, do you have a site plan? Have you talked to the neighbors? And like, no, we don't know what to do. We don't know how that works, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, it's too late to do it. So it sounds.
The key thing is to get your application in. I
Yeah.
can't work with something that doesn't exist and is only exists in your mind. If you put it in, then we have a date, a location, and a concept to work with. And you filled out a 34-point questionnaire on what your event actually is. So we do have information, and now we can guide you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's really helpful. So moving back to like the pop-up events, I mean, you touched on it. This is one thing that I think over the past year has sort of emerged as a problem. Well, it was around before, but we weren't really catching it because historically this committee didn't really review production events. And then we started realizing that there were these pop-up events that technically the activation was inside. They were applying for a production event, and then they would put lines outside of the event. And, we had a few that literally took up 10 blocks in like an entire neighborhood, caused massive disruption. And so now if we see production events that look to us like that might be something more, we're starting to ask them to appear. But as we went over earlier, the deadline is so short. And so we can't always catch every single one. So I guess have you been sort of tracking the rise of more and more of these pop-up events that are happening inside? Yeah.
And so we've kind of been doing the same thing as you. I've got Chris, and Chris knows. I'm like, I always say it says production, but is it? Right? So we try to do a lot of pushback. What we try to do is say, look, if you're going to have an internal event and you're giving something away or you have a celebrity component, then we need to understand, especially a lot of these sneaker folks, you need a different plan. It is not, I'm sending it out and we're dropping it on this day, and then whoever comes and shows up, and we're just going to keep forming this line 10 blocks long. No, you need a timed event. It needs to be ticketed. It needs to be pre-ticketed, or windows of opportunity, and people arriving outside that a window, you have to shoo them away. They cannot be there, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different things that we require folks to do once we know what they're doing. And that's why we have to ask those questions to ensure that it ends up being just that, a production event, and not an actual production. And if it ends up being an actual production or an event, that's when we're going to say, no, you have to pay more fees. And then we have NYPD there on site helping us manage the crowd control. And then we're asking them to do things like, you have to do tickets, you have to do windows of time of when people are to show up and go away, or you cannot advertise who's there. So that's how we're trying to work with them to mitigate these insane impacts on these communities by a quote unquote production event, because they feel like they just put something in, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So, I mean, is it fair to say, like, if we come across a production event that is featuring like an extremely popular influencer, like, can we basically tell them this should be a street event, not a production event, and refer that like immediately to you and essentially deny it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Because remember, you deny with conditions. Your denial is this event does not appear to be a production in nature. There is a celebrity component to it, because I consider influencers celebrities. There's a celebrity component. Please discuss this with SAPO.
And what do we do if it's say they applied yesterday and we're hearing them today, but the event is set in 9 days before our full board meeting? How are we supposed to handle it?
Comments. So so hold on a second. Let me just get to that. Sorry, I'm gonna tap through the slides really quickly.
I know there's a comment section. So you're okay with us telling our staff basically to put in comments even
That's
before
exactly
the
what
full
you're
board.
supposed to be doing right here. You see where it says abstain, approved, comments,
Yeah.
denied, right? Comments.
Yeah.
Select comments and just tell us whatever you want to tell us. That goes to, it notifies the Chris, it'll notify Chris right away, and he'll be able to read it. And sometimes you guys have more information than we do. So you can put it in there, and all it is a comment. It's not an official determination.
Yeah. All right. That's
Or
all.
you can recommend. Again, you don't have denial and approval or the board. Recommendations can be someone that's not the board.
Got it.
Right?
And that's basically going to be us asking our staff to do it because we can't, as non-city employees, we can't access this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can put comments or recommend approval or recommend disapproval. We just can't put approve
Or deny without.
Yeah.
without full
You
board.
can. I mean, if you feel confident enough to put, I'm just
I'm
giving
not
you
sure
options.
I'm not sure if I
If
would
you,
allow
it
that.
depends on your own internal policy, right? If your internal policy is that we need a specific amount of votes, so on and so forth, then don't just put recommend or just use the comments.
I have a follow up on that. Like some of these don't have necessarily like I'm thinking of the Billie Eilish one in Soho, right? Like Billie Eilish wasn't coming, but just her name on it. And she also happened to be here for a concert. So obviously people thought she was going to be here. Lines around the block, da 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 da. Production event. Nothing's happening outside. We just tell you that. Like we can say there's no celebrity, there's nothing that's going to like trigger per se, but this is just something that we know.
So you can say we have concerns surrounding impact because they are promoting this as Billie Eilish, even though she is not attending the event.
Okay. Or like it's an Instagram popular brand, like that candy store or the little fishes
100%.
thing.
And again, we try to catch them all as much as we can, but if you know it, put it in there because it's going to notify us. And then Chris is going to say, oh, this notification came in and we're going to read it. And then he's going to elevate it to Tawana's team. And Shanique, sorry, he's going to elevate it to Shanique, and Shanique is going to elevate it to Tawana's team, which is the events team. And then they're going to bring it to my attention, and then I'll make a determination. So yes, even though you don't think it, we will see it and we will respond in kind.
Okay. That's helpful. I think.
And then it lives on the permit as well, right? It lives on the permit that you said something.
Okay.
Right? On this day at this time, it's date and time stamp. You said this, and you sent us a notification surrounding your concerns. So we should respond.
Okay. One other thing that kind of we became more aware of this year is, we were going out to try to check on some events that we knew were happening. And it turns out that the people on the ground at the event, had no idea that there had even been a presentation to us and had a site plan and everything. And that's because people are using permit expediters, and there's different layers. There's often a permit expediter and then a marketing firm and then the actual, company that it's being held for. Mm-hmm. So sort of what do you suggest in terms of, helping people know like who to helping both the community and ourselves to know who to contact when there's issues? Like, is there anything in the system that requires like the ultimate client to be in the system, or is it always just going to show up as like the expediter and we won't be able to get down to the ultimate client?
So this is the thing. Whoever put in the application is responsible for whatever happens on the street. So you should if that person's not on site, contact us or contact the person whose permit it is and say, this isn't right, because they get the violation, the person that applied. And I've had this conversation with other permits where I've been like, look, you're responsible for everything that happens. And I've called producers or expediters and I said, your people are doing X, Y, Z. You can either come and correct it or we're shutting it down. And that's why I said you need to let SAPO know, because we will shut it down. We will have the NYPD there with us and we will shut it down. There's supposed to be someone there, a representative from the production company, if they're the applicant, should be there managing what's happening. And if you just give someone a permit and expect them to figure it out as they go along, that's not how we operate. And we want to work with producers and production companies that are doing the right thing, that are managing their clients. And so therefore, if it's all wrong, please let SAPO know so that we can send someone down there or take pictures and send it to us. And then we will contact the applicant and have a conversation with them. And then they won't get a permit in the future, because if they're not going to be on site for their activities, that's a problem.
Got it. So if we see something in process that to us is like either far beyond what the application was, completely unpermitted, what's the best way to contact you? I guess if we see something right, like, and we want to report it right away and have someone come down, like, what's the best way to do that?
Calling us is the best way. I mean, you've got Chris's contact information. You've got Shanique's contact information. Those are the people that you should reach out to right away. Shanique heads up SAPO, so she's going to know what's approved all the time. And Chris is the person for your specific community board, so he should know whether or not he approved it right away. So we are the best points of contact for you to get back to you in a timely manner and get things taken care of. But pictures and emails, like if you can take a quick picture with your phone, send us an email and say, hey, this is happening right now, and then send us a text, that's the fastest way to respond, because sometimes we're in a meeting or we're doing something else. And so therefore a text is always faster for us to respond to than a whole bunch of emails that we have to look through before we can get to yours.
Does our office have the right phone number?
We have their phone numbers, I think.
The text phone number?
Yeah.
Well, you say text Shanique or Chris directly.
Yeah, to Shanique or Chris. And it's on our signature line. It's on their signature line all the time. And Shawnee, I'm sure she has those, and she can drop both of those work cell numbers in the chat for you as well.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a question in the chat. What if it's like an event later at night? Will they still respond after work hours, or?
We're always working. If it's a big enough, if it's an event happening at night and it's large, we're probably there.
Okay.
Weekend?
Especially a lot of these, if an event changes types magically, usually we have someone there because it's elevated to the events team. And so someone's usually on site. It may not be Chris. It may not be Shanique. It may be somebody else from Tawana's team that is going there to inspect it because they've been assigned to the event because it has a celebrity component or something like that. If it's something in the dead of night, then obviously you're not going to hear back from us. But if you send us pictures, we can investigate it the next morning and then react accordingly. And we can violate individuals after the fact if we have evidence, right? If you take a picture of the permit and it's clearly outside of what we discussed, we will upload that to the application. And please, you can upload it to the event ID as well if you have the ability. If you're back and you're working with your team, they can upload it to the application and say, this is evidence that we found that the event was in violation. We will then take it, review it, violate the event. When we issue violations, an email will go to the applicant and then we'll upload we're working right now to update our violations system. So we're in the process. Maybe the next time we give this presentation, we'll have a whole new slide on that. But right now it simply notifies the applicant that they have a violation and then an email is sent to them. But we're going to, before the beginning of the event season, so by next month, we're going to have it so that the violation is automatically uploaded to the application and made available for us and you to see so that you can see the violation that was emailed to the applicant.
Okay, great. And then a lot of the types of events that we have that are problems are ones that just never got a permit in general. Should we follow the same process?
Follow the same process where you email us. And if you can get a business card or any information about the person that's doing it, that would be great, because what we do is then we have meetings with them and PD to discuss the correct way to do events in New York City. And the expectation is that the next time this happens and PD comes out, if it's the same person, it's going to be a problem, because we have spoke with them about the correct process they should be going through, and with the NYPD who enforces our permits.
Got it. And then is there any publicly accessible database of past violations? That's all recorded, I know. Is there a way for us to see that?
It's in the system. You know what? I have to double check with Paresh. I believe if you look at an application, I think it already shows you if that applicant has a violation under see where it says violations?
Okay.
So if you look at that application and you pull it up, it will tell you
we have to go through our staff. Yeah, but we have to go through our staff to do that, I guess. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we can't do it. And then
Yeah, you'd have to log back in, bring up the event ID, or as you're pulling these applications, they'll be able to see which ones have violations and who doesn't.
Gotcha. And then, like, are there different tiers of like fines? Like, what's the typical fine for?
We don't fine. We simply don't issue permits. So SAPO doesn't have it's not in our rules to fine someone, but it is in our rules that that person is a bad actor and they wouldn't get a permit with us again in New York City. But that doesn't mean that if they aren't violating, because we track all the violations, FD, health, and others may have violations, PD, it's just the violations for SLA. So depending on what it is, they might have additional fees and violations from other agencies, and we note those within the violations.
I'd like to give the public a chance to ask some questions because I think last time we didn't have time for that. So let's move on to that. I see Pete Davies has his hand raised. Let me, oops, I raised my own hand. Let me promote Pete here and let him ask a question. 1 second. And then while Pete's getting promoted, I saw one other question in the chat, was asking about, so moratoriums on specific locations. I know there are locations that have moratoriums. Is there a way of, for areas where it seems like there's just an over proliferation of events, is there a way to request new moratoriums?
Yes.
How does that?
We consider them embargoes, not moratoriums.
Oh,
There's
sorry,
only one moratorium on the rules, but we have embargoes. Like you see every year our holiday embargoes go out, where I write a letter specifically stating and requesting that these areas will not be hosting events. So that goes out. So if you have a specific area that's oversaturated, that you have consistent community complaints and other things, you work with our office to discuss what the impact is and why it is oversaturated and why you feel that it should be embargoed. And then once we can have a conversation and come to a consensus, I can issue an embargo for that area, put it into the system, and that way any applications coming in will conflict with the embargo and therefore be denied.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, we can talk more about it, but I mean, it seems like there's certain areas where there's a ton of, a huge oversaturation of events, the Broadway corridor being one of them, et cetera. So we can ask, we simply ask and say, hey, can you consider this for an embargo? You just do that on a yearly basis. So we would need to ask like next year. Sometime this year, like
unless the discussion is that, well, again, my suggestion is you come to kind of make the decision of what the locations are, what the areas are, and why it's oversaturated and the impact of it. So the reasoning behind it would mean like, hey, for example, we had an embargo in the Tribeca downtown area in and around our offices for years because construction was happening and the streets are narrow, and it was like, we cannot have any new events in this area until this is done, right? So we had an embargo in place for, I would say, about maybe 5 or 7 years where we weren't issuing, street fairs at all in and around that area or around that time. And it took us a while before we lifted that embargo because it was just too much every other, So it depends on what it is and the area and if there's construction associated with it and what is causing the additional congestion. And we'll review it with you. And then we'll make that determination of whether we can move forward with the embargo. And then obviously I always notify City Hall that we're going to be doing something like that. And then we would go ahead and put the embargo in our system.
Okay, that's great to know. All right, let me see if I can allow Pete to talk. Are you there?
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you all for coming and talking to us. I'm talking from Broadway in Soho. We have this ongoing situation with basically right now, one company with multiple food trucks, Aunt Annie's or Auntie Anne's pretzel truck that appears all the time. And they're basically robbing you. They're not paying for to be here. And we've talked to the NYPD. They've engaged with them. I'm amazed if this information hasn't worked its way into the system somehow, but they keep coming back. They don't seem to care. So anyway, I just wanted you to know that. And it's just very frustrating because we do have a lot of people who show up without a SAPO permit. And we have others who get production permits, but what they're doing goes way beyond production. So thank you.
It would be good if when you see it, you try to reach out to our office so that we can get someone down there to talk to them.
But see, when we contact SAPO, you're told as a resident, as a non-community board member, everything has to go through the community board.
You can send us an email with evidence, take a picture and send it. And even if you take the picture and send it to the community board and they send it to us, but you can go to our website and you can write any comment about any violation and it comes straight to either myself, Chris, whoever is managing that area, it goes to them and they need to respond to it. So if you go through our website.
Right, you mean go to 311 SAPO?
No. Go to the CECM website, the SAPO website. And then you can, okay, hold on. Let me see if there's a screenshot.
I just dropped it in the chat as well.
There you go. And the link is there.
Us.
On our website, there's a contact us. And one of these squares that you can't see here, one of them is to contact us or to submit information about, an illegal event. And so you can click on that and you can submit to us that this is happening in this location and you'll provide information and documentation and we'll respond to you.
Okay, so that address you're showing there, New York City event.
No. Don't look at this. I'm saying the website.
Look at the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, look in the chat. That was just for the screenshot of the website where the squares are, but click on the link. Let me get off the screen so it's not confusing. But click on the link.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. I also have a hand raised from Jonathan Pirelli. Let me promote Jonathan. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong computer here. Okay. I keep okay, let me Jonathan, I'm going to promote you to panelist if you can accept that. And you should be able to unmute yourself and speak.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Hi, Jonathan.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry. That's my 2-year-old here. Okay. All right. But so thanks for the interesting presentation. This is actually all new information for me. I've lived in Soho for almost 20 years. But I wanted to bring up one recurring event briefly with the committee, just to highlight some recurring issues with it, and it's the San Gennaro Festival. It's obviously has a noble and interesting history and heritage, but it's really, I would describe, it's kind of come off the rails in recent years. We had a little reprieve during COVID for unfortunate circumstances, but since it's been back, it seems like it's expanded further down Mulberry. It used to end primarily at Prince, and now it goes all the way to Houston. And I live at 285 Lafayette, and this year and possibly last as well, we've had just significant issues with trash, significant issues with just wildly unsanitary conditions where people are urinating and defecating on Jersey streets as well as on Mulberry. The festival staff are not cleaning it up. The super for my building, the super for 295 Lafayette, as well as restaurant employees are left to clean up feces that is left by attendees of the by attendees of the festival. We have access issues where the booths themselves are encroaching so much on the sidewalk. It's actually hard to get in and out of the door to our building on Mulberry. And then, of course, just the trash, the food trash, which obviously has its own sanitary concerns that it's just left day on day. That, again, we eventually have to, our building has to pick up. The church, Old St. Patrick's, I've spoken with management over there. They, are suffering similar issues from the festival. There obviously is a police presence, but it doesn't seem to be having an impact on reducing the impact on the neighbors. My building also had to spend about $2,000 in overtime this year. In prior years, we've had to hire security to make sure the residents weren't, assaulted, basically, coming out of the back entrance to our building. A late 60s hospice nurse who lives in our building opened up her window and politely asked one of the vendors to turn the music down after 10 p.m., which is, I believe, when the festival is supposed to end, and was just lambasted with just horrible language. As I mentioned, I've lived in the neighborhood for a very long time, or relatively speaking, long time. And so I know some of the businesses on the block. I spoke to 7 businesses specifically today, just to, without leading questions, asking them about the impact of San Gennaro on the local businesses. And, every single one reported lost revenue due to the festival. Many of them have, in order to have had to resort to buying booths from San Gennaro just to make sure there isn't, a food vendor who's going to, completely dirty and, their entryway. As you know, there's booths just run down the street. And people walk in the middle of the street. So, all these businesses lose, okay, in a few minutes, all of these businesses lose that foot traffic, and they're then forced to pay money to the festival in order to maintain a semblance of business for the 10 or 11 days that it's happening. We obviously, I saw in the presentation the requirements that you're supposed to leave the area, as you found it or better. That's never the case. I walk around there 2 days afterwards, and I personally see the remnants of these sheds on the street. 3 of the businesses specifically told me how they had to hire, haulers to come, days later to remove the remnants of these sheds. Yes. Also an increase in shoplifting. All these businesses, not all, but 2 of the businesses reported. And then the last thing is also just the air quality. As you've just got dozens and dozens, if not 100, of these businesses burning charcoal and whatnot. And 3 of the 7 businesses I spoke to talked about how inventory is damaged because the smoke just gets into the businesses. So I'll stop there. But it's become it's a real problem that seems to only benefit the festival itself, and leaves the neighborhood in worse shape than when the festival started. Again, for my building personally, it's a time when residents don't feel comfortable in their own homes. It's a time where the people that claim to be doing this for the neighborhood don't make people that actually live in the neighborhood feel welcome there. And I just think that it's worth a deeper investigation before issuing permits again, as to how they're going to improve their impact on the neighborhood that they seem to care about, and demonstrate that this isn't just a cash grab for them to the detriment of literally every individual and every business that operates there. That's all I'll say.
Thanks.
So
yeah, this is
thank you. Thank you. It would be very helpful if you could, write that up and submit it into the comments on our website so that I can bring it to the meeting with me. Again, if we can only report on what we see, there are several violations that occur within that event that they have to address and or pay for. Like, for example, if I'd known that a business was going to use a private carter, we would have offset that right away. We would have said, no, touch nothing. The feast will move it and pay for it. We have had meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings with the feast to make sure that they're doing the right things. Unless until you told me right now, I didn't know that defecating in the street was an issue, in addition to all the other things that are going on. This is the one festival that I can tell you every single agency that you can possibly imagine is activated during this feast to at least make sure that it adheres to the rules and regulations during setup and the start of the event. Once the event starts, it gets inspected multiple times as well. So it would be good to know the information that you just said to us would be great to have, so that when we're going into our first kickoff meeting with them, which is going to be coming up soon, believe it or not, we can go through all of those points. And if you have photographs, that would be even better, so that we can go through all of those points with all of the agencies and the organizer that is doing it. The organizers that are doing it now are different than the ones that were doing it 2 years ago. So it's good to know that these new organizers are not meeting the standards that the previous ones were meeting, whether or not, and those weren't even meeting the standards. So we are very limited on what we can do with regard to, again, its location. The length may have increased a little bit. Actually, there were some blocks that it went down to that weren't activated in the past.
Right.
Like in front of the church, there weren't. And the reason why is because when open restaurants came, they're allowed to operate without paying money to the feast. We have to give the feast the length that they originally had because they're under the moratorium. So then they began programming blocks that weren't originally programmed to make up for the revenue lost in the booths that they could not get revenue from, that are a part of the open street or the open restaurant. So it's a whole big thing that has to be taken care of. And trust me, there are many eyes on this. So they ended up activating blocks with vendors that previously did not have vendors to offset what they lost on the blocks that used to be the Mulberry Mall, where all the restaurants already come out as open streets and open restaurants. So it's a very delicate balance of what, we are required to do under our rules and regulations, and how it ends up impacting areas that normally wouldn't be impacted, right? Because of new activities and events that are occurring. So I completely understand everything that you're saying, and I would love for you to send that to me, in an email, so that I can address all of those concerns directly with the applicant in our kickoff meeting for this year, and can make sure that they're adhering to all those rules and regulations. Definitely the trash. We are fully aware of that. Some of the unsanitary situations, I did not know about defecating in the street, but utilizing DEP water hydrants and stuff the way they were not supposed to be. All of those things have been recorded and have been noted and have been violated with regards to them having that event in that location. So anything more that you can add on, I would really appreciate it. And if you have, pictures, documentation, invoices, all of that would be helpful, so that I can share that with the applicant in our next meeting.
Okay, I'll do my best. I am just one guy, and it's a neighborhood that doesn't like this festival.
You have a real job. I understand.
Is there a reason that it's like, I don't care? I mean, obviously it's been around for a while. Why is it 12 days, 11 days long now? I mean, it
is again, it's one of our moratorium. Remember I talked about those festivals, street festivals, which are multi-day, multi-block, that are under our moratorium. They're one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much do they pay to have the festival?
I can't talk about what they pay or their money. But I can tell you that if you look at street fairs and street festivals, whatever they charge the vendors, 20% of that goes back to the city, because that's our rules and regulations of how street festivals are invoiced.
Okay. I mean, I think there's additional ways that money is flowing amongst this festival, because
and that's when the Department of Investigations gets involved, which is involved already with this street fair and street festival.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, I think some of these vendors are making like tens of thousands of dollars a day, and I can't imagine that's
again, whatever information you have, please provide it to us.
Okay. All right. I will. I have a couple statements written up by some of the buildings, like my building and 295 and the church. I'll send that to you.
Because they have to explain to us why this happened and, what they did to fix it.
And yeah. Well, how much, when you say that they get fines and violations, what are the fines and like what's the
health department will issue a fine if they don't, sanitation would issue them a bill if they don't clean up. and sanitation has to clean up. So that's why I said I would rather them not touch that, because if the city has to move it, which sanitation would move it, then the sanitation is going to invoice the feast. As it stands, they have no recourse right now unless you say, hey, this is the bill for the private carder, and we can give it to them. But the goal is that if you're telling me there is stuff here that's left over from the feast, it should have been gone, I would then have my team go down there and investigate, take pictures, send it to the feast, and let them and then have sanitation move it if necessary and bill them for the cost of that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Feel free to copy us as well on that info. We appreciate you bringing all that. And Don, thank you for taking the time as well to hear the concerns there. So I think we're going to go ahead and move on to the next.
I have some questions.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. Just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Is the moratorium on multi-day festivals, is that by law or by administrative policy?
It's on our rules. We go every year, we go on our we have a CAPA hearing. We go under CAPA for the moratorium extension.
What's that?
So it is written into our rules, the moratorium. And then each year we have to amend our rules to extend it for another year.
So you could decide, if you wanted to this year, you could just say, we're doing it. Screw it. New festivals.
No, if we do that, then it opens up everything. We have to write new rules for festivals. And we did that. Like I was part of it in 2017 when we tried to change the street festival rules, and our whole thing got shut down. And so we are going to look at it again this year to see what we can do to modify it. But I don't know that it will necessarily affect Manhattan because of the fact that the whole goal of the moratorium was to reduce the number of fairs that were occurring due to traffic and congestion and impact. I don't think anybody here wants me to say, okay, I'm lifting the moratorium and everyone and anyone can apply for new street fairs and street festivals, because in our rules, it already states if you had the date and location previously, you are grandfathered. Basically, you have the first right of refusal over that date. So that's not going to help anyone.
Thank you.
Erica?
I just have a question on the sidewalk queuing. So obviously, like, our community board especially has very narrow sidewalks. We've gone through this with DSNY, and especially now with the DSNY stuff, there's even less room on the sidewalks. Are they allowed to queue on the sidewalk if there's less than 5 feet, or is that a no-go?
That's when they need to put in an application with us. If they don't leave 5 feet, then they need to queue somewhere else, like in the curb lane or something.
Right. Okay. And then
remember, technically, okay, so there's the whole situation of the easement of the building, right? They can queue in front of their building under their easement, but they can't do it in front of somebody else's. So if they wanted a short queue line that's the length of their building, they technically don't need a safe zone. But normally that's not the case.
But would they still need 5 feet of clearance on the sidewalk?
Yeah.
And if they can't have the 5 foot of clearance, then they need to go to you guys to get curb lane, even if it's in front of their building.
Correct.
Right. And then in terms of people leaving stanchions out 24/7, that's not okay, right?
That's not okay because they should be paying for it, and we don't have 24-hour permits.
Right.
That's
okay. And that's under you guys, right?
Correct. Any structures on the sidewalk is us. Again, if they put it against their building line, not us, right? Because DOT gives everybody an easement of, I think it's 10 feet or 5 or 10 feet. I'll get that number for you, of easement on their own, in their building line. And then anything beyond that is the city and us.
Yeah. I mean, I think our issue is that we have very few sidewalks that are 15 feet wide in our.
And we're always happy to come down there with DOT and we'll say, this is okay and that is not. And actually during the Mulberry Mall, we used to do that all the time. But now that they have the open restaurants, we're still trying to figure that situation out. For San Gennaro, all of that, we're down there with measuring tapes to make sure that we're adhering to the amount that they're supposed to be.
And is that the same thing for like sandwich boards?
Yeah.
And
It shouldn't be in the middle of the sidewalk. I walk down places all the time and I'm like, that's not on your property. You have to keep it on your property.
No, well, a lot of them have the 5 foot easement, but the sidewalk's like 7 feet. So then everyone's walking around into the street and it's like, I don't think that's the rule. And then my last question, sorry, I'm just taking notes. Who do we go to when there's like stickers and spray paint ads on the sidewalk?
DOT. It's DOT property. Shawnee, can you just make sure that I remember to get them a contact for DOT for violations? DOT issues violation for graffiti on their property.
If you guys could get us the thing, that would be great. Because now with the pop-up thing, now every sidewalk is also a billboard, and it's getting insane with all of it all over the place.
And that goes for gobos too. People reflecting onto the sidewalk, all of that. They should be putting in permits for that type of activity. And we don't allow stickering or drawing on the sidewalk, so they would be at a violation from the Department of Transportation and be made to clean up and fined each day that it's still there.
And then just one
find
point,
out who's doing it. DOT will issue the violations.
I got you.
Shawnee, Claudette will give you that contact.
One point of clarification I just wanted to add to my notes, because we get this question a lot. When you talk about capacity, when it comes to the like small, medium, large, it's capacity at any given time, right? So if they're ticketed events, like over the course of the day, we'll get applications that's like, we're expecting 6,000 people, but it's medium because they only let 25 in at a time for 10 minutes or something. It's capacity at any given time, not total.
We don't do capacity, we do impact. So
sorry, on the plaza events, you were talking about the capacity, I think?
Capacity and impact, yeah.
Okay, but that's like capacity at any given time. Sorry.
Okay, let's.
Well, like I think maybe to clarify like this.
I'm going to go right back to it. So keep
going.
I
know for the street events, you sort of assign it based on, okay, is it curb lane, is it sidewalk plus curb, or closing the block? But yeah, I think for plaza,
it's impact.
You mentioned capacity as like
so
percent of plaza and percent of capacity. Yeah.
See, expected attendance. See what you're saying?
Right. So is that expected attendance total or expected attendance at any given time? Because I think there's some confusion often in applications.
It's both.
Okay.
Do all the Class B plazas have the same capacity, or is each?
Every plaza is a different size, and it's based, your categorization is based on your the size of the plaza, square footage, as well as its how close it is to a city center, educational institution, or transit. All of that factors into.
Do you know where we can find the capacity for Astor, like the official capacity for Astor?
All of the official maps are on the DOT website. They're on our website as well, but DOT has a more comprehensive. With us, you'll have to search, or you might be able to, that might be better. So if you go to our website under the Plaza link, and Shawnee, you can drop it in there and then drop in the DOT link if we have that. You can pull up their DOT Plaza map, and the DOT Plaza map has the square footage on there.
Oh,
and usable space.
It's a quick one. The block party that Will was asking you, we want to try and help people do better. Does that have to be open to the public, or are there any rules around that?
So that's what I'm saying. What is a block party? A lot of these things aren't block parties. Some of them are just street events where they're a shop or a store and they want to have a block party. That's not how it works. That's
clear. The real block parties. Do they have
a real block party should not be open to the community. It should just be the residents of the block. Anyone that can walk through it, you can't close the street. Anyone that can walk through it. Sorry. You're not closing the street for a block party. And that's the part where you may require additional verification to prove that these people are residents of the block and that the residents on the block want this thing to actually happen.
This could be a block closure, right?
It's a block closure, and the fact that they're not, like, they can't stop people from walking through the block.
Stop vehicles, but not people. Yeah.
Right.
People, yeah, exactly. Vehicles are stopped.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha,
they can't
gotcha.
stop. If I want to just walk from one side to the next upon
Right.
my merry way,
Yeah.
no one should be stopping me and saying, you can't come down this block.
You're not privatizing the block, you're just stopping traffic so they can.
Correct.
Clear. And this can be, people can walk, but because there's no Department of Health or insurance, it's
Yeah.
not open to the public.
It's not supposed to be. I see.
Because as soon as that happens, then it would trigger. Okay.
If you get sick at a block party,
Yeah.
you chose to eat someone's homemade food
We get applications.
when you weren't
for that.
invited. Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you for all your answers. It's really helpful.
Anybody else?
But what I have seen recently is where the block party will have a food truck come and then the food truck is selling food. No, you can't make you created a captive audience and now this food truck who is not supposed to be selling during your event is selling. That is not allowed.
Okay.
Because a food truck can sell anywhere on a city street and anyone can walk up to them and buy food. But if you're creating an event for this food truck, that's a street event. That's where we get involved. And you can't sell.
Okay.
So
You could
buy
get it,
out
like,
the food truck
privately-
and give people
Privately
tickets.
catered.
Yeah, but you can buy out the food truck, you can and then you can give away tickets, right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of things that you can do, but you can't be selling at a block party.
Got you.
You
Cool.
can't be having alcohol. And please, for the love, please do not say it's a birthday party because birthday parties are private. They're not public.
Have those before. Does anybody else? I'm sorry, I jumped the gun earlier. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay.
Let's talk to our fine applicants.
All right. We came in only 15 minutes behind where I was hoping to be in terms of timing. So, good. Thank you very
Have
much.
us for as long as you need us. So are we good?
I think so. I think we're good.
All
I guess the very last question is if there's a projected thing on the sidewalk, is that also a DOT issue?
It is us. It is SAPO and DOT.
Okay.
Gobos, which
So
is a
reported
projection.
The
Gobos
same
are
way as
projections of logos.
the same
right?
reported the same way as if it were a chalk.
Correct. It's promotion on the sidewalk.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's SAPO.
Okay.
And Shawnee, will you follow up with the correct DOT contact for us?
Yeah, we'll put you in contact via email with the people at DOT. I feel as though I did with someone, maybe it was in CB2, that reached out about gobos and stickers. And so we'll let you get in contact with DOT, but it's DOT would issue the violation for that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was really helpful. We really appreciate it. I'm glad to hear that we're on the same page on many things, including the pop-up issue. So it's great.
100%. We are willing to work with you in any way. You know, we're happy, to have if you want to do like a smaller pop-up producer meeting with us and NYPD and some other folks, we're happy to pull that together if you can get the people to attend.
All right. We might take you up on that in the future. All
Okay,
right.
not a problem.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on now to our street activity.
Thanks to the whole team. We appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. So I believe the new product launch had asked if they could go first. I think they had a tight schedule. So anyone on from the new product launch on Prince, please raise your hand. If not, we'll go start from the top. I see one hand raised. I see a few hand raised. So for everyone on, this is going to be the fourth agenda item we're starting with, and then we'll go back to the top. Okay. So this is new product launch, Prince between Sullivan and Thompson, partial sidewalk, and Sullivan between Prince and Spring, sidewalk and curb lane.
Yes, thank you so much. I'll try and keep this as short and succinct as possible.
Hey, thanks for joining. Yep.
No, thank you for having us. This is for Laura Mercer, and it takes place during Fashion Week. We will have line queues up against the property line of the building. We will be, it's for a color match event in particular. So people will go through very quickly the color match process, receive a card. They can get in the line queue. And once they get to the corner of the intersection, the door to the shop, they will be able to redeem that card for a cup of coffee. One side will have one small cafe table and 2 chairs for a photo op. And that is it. We will have security there during the day. We have told them that they must have trash receptacles on each side of the street, and they will be emptied as needed as they are filled. We will also we have also asked if they were planning to have any kind of amplified sound, and they have not indicated to us that they plan to do that. The newsstand element already exists, and that's just going to be something that people can look at while they are in line to go through the very quick process of the color match, receive their card, and be able to take their coffee and walk through the photo op location.
The photo op location is indoors or outdoors?
It's outdoors up against the building on the other side on Thompson.
All right, let me just try to pull this up and visualize it. So what's the exact address where they will for the shop?
One moment, let me pull that up.
Prince between Thompson and Sullivan. Is this magazine store again?
Is it the magazine one again?
Across from...
It's 186 Prince.
Is it a magazine store that you guys are taking over?
Yes.
Okay, it's the same. Yeah, this is the spot where there's always the pop-ups. It's the Soho News International.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Sorry, really quick. April, are you with Event Permits LLC?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thanks.
So sorry, can you just go back through how long is it up there for?
It'll be there for 3 days. They'll be activating during the hours of 9 to 6.
So it's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the 7th through the 9th.
Correct.
And so the queue is going to run, sorry. Can you just kind of go through which direction the queue is going to run?
It'll start from where the newsstand window is and work towards the door where they can step inside and redeem their card for a cup of coffee. Walk out.
On Sullivan or on Prince?
That will be on, I think that is on, hold on, let me pull that up. Sorry. Apologies.
It's just on the corner. I don't know which.
Yes, that is on Prince. My apologies. I'm sorry.
So it's going to run and cross the entrance, as it says.
They will be able to walk from the news rack down to the color matching wall, which is next. It's an interactive display. One of their brand ambassadors will hand them a card once they've stood through it. I believe it's a 2-minute experience. And then they will take the card, walk to the door, get the coffee from the door, and then walk around the corner, they hope, to the existing photo op with the cafe table and chairs.
Do you have like a diagram or anything? Sorry,
Yeah, no, we shared that earlier.
It's in the Google Drive. You want me to share screen?
Yeah, let me see if I can. 1 second.
I can share.
Is it allow you to share? Okay. There we go.
Yes.
Okay, so overnight security, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. There's a queue okay. So people are queuing both ways, but you're only going to use the Sullivan queue if the line gets too long?
Correct.
And is the shade matching wall, is that between?
That's where the newspaper rack begins at the end of the building. Can you also let my colleague Stella back into the meeting? Would that be okay, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't have to.
So,
we don't have to admit anyone to the meeting. She should just be able to join.
well, she was, but I think she was on the list, so she put her hand up to say that she was here and got asked to please come back in.
I tried to promote, but they need to rejoin the meeting because I don't see them in the list.
Okay. Anyway, so yes, so the newspaper rack, that's at the very end of the property line. Then the next window will have the color shade matching interactive window. And then from there, they will get their card and they will be able to redeem that for the cup of coffee. They hand it in. Yes, we went through it. They understand how to go back onto the website after they're done and get anything that they would like from the video, and then be on their way. It's not meant to be a dwell event. It's really meant to be a very simple experience.
And what's happening inside the store?
Nothing. They're simply walking up to the window at the door and getting a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Can I?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm a little confused. I mean, I'm looking at here. Let me share what I'm looking at so we can all look at it actually. So if you look at the street, am I sharing the right thing now? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't know how, like, right here, especially where there's a tree pit, and this is a very busy street in Soho, that there's going to be an activation in this window and a queue and 5 feet for people to walk. And like,
because it's going to be kept very limited to the actual property line. They're going to be lined up against the wall, the window, the store, and we'll have security there to manage the line, to maintain the pedestrian right of way.
Is this a corridor? Then you need.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't apply to safer rules.
But didn't they just say that you can only have the line in front of your store?
What?
You think you just say you can only have the line in front of your store?
You can have a line go beyond the front of your store if you apply for the safer permit. They're saying you have without a permit.
But you need 5 feet no matter what. And what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know what the measurement is from this tree to there, but I don't think it's much. And it would be less concerning if this were a quiet street on those dates, but it's very much not the case.
Do you know how wide the street is? The sidewalk is?
I believe when we measured it, we were allowed the 5 feet for pedestrian right of way.
I don't think that's the correct building.
Yeah,
it is.
This building.
Oh, it is.
This building
Okay.
does stuff here all the time.
Perfect.
We're very familiar with it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Everything's interactive. It's not meant to be dwelled. Nobody's expecting a large attraction of consumers. It's meant to really interact with some passersby as they go that may be interested in the product and then would like to look through the window, maybe take a photo op, get a cup of coffee, and be on their way. It's really not meant to be a dwell.
What's the plan if a larger crowd than expected shows up?
Well, we'll have security there to manage the line. We have that at all of our events to manage any kind of crowd control or any kind of issues. And if there's an issue, we will manage it.
And so
we're also working with the local precinct on this.
Right, and we would not block any other storefronts. We would just allow the line to queue in front of the foot space that we have on Prince, and then along the other side. I don't remember the other street, but we would
Thompson as needed.
Thompson, yeah.
Sullivan, I thought.
I'm sorry.
Sullivan.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you'll go here.
So you would.
I'm getting a little turned around. Sorry.
Yeah. So you'd cut off the line if it started to get longer than the storefront?
Yes, absolutely.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Where's the coffee from?
Be at the door to the entrance to the store.
It's in the store.
Oh, but who's providing it? The store? Deli? The deli?
The deli, correct.
Oh, okay. All right. Any amplified sound outside?
No,
No.
and we have asked them, and they have not indicated to us that they plan to have any kind of sound with this event.
And no influencers
Nope,
or celebrities? Okay.
nope, nope. Just the brand ambassadors to help walk people through the experience quickly, answer questions, hand out the cards, and let them know where they can get their cup of coffee once they've gone through the color match process.
Cool.
Do you need the table and chairs?
It's for a photo op, and it'll be up against the side of the building.
Right, it's a very small bistro table that's like 2 feet wide or 24 inches wide.
Correct. With just 2 chairs abutted against it.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you. It's now
Thank you.
much more clear to me what the event is since we put the diagram up. So thank you, Erica. Okay. Thanks a lot. So we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to go back to the start of our agenda. February 6th, Boohoo Coffee Cart at Broadway. Adam will promote you.
You want to promote is April McCarthy part of this too?
Oh, you're on mute. Sorry.
Hello. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen to make it visually easier as well.
Okay.
So we are doing a 1-day activation for Boohoo. It's a clothing brand based out of the UK, growing their audience here in the US. It is just a 1-day activation at 503 Broadway. We're handing out hot chocolate. Anyone can come, anyone can receive it. And it's really just to build brand awareness for the day.
Right.
Can you go through the hours that it will?
Yep, 11 to 5. And we will do the same thing like we always do. We have extra trash cans, take all of our trash with us. No amplified sound. We'll have rope and stanchion just in case there is a line at all, which I don't think there'll be a massive one ever because it's a really quick process. Just to keep that organized, we'll have at minimum 5 feet of egress, the usual.
This is okay. This is on Thursday. This is this Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We actually already received the SAPO, but this way you guys know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, I think at this point, you guys have done a bunch of these. 503 Broadway, what's there? Sorry, I'm looking on Google Maps. What store is that?
It's right by Zara and PacSun.
Are Boohoo clothes sold nearby Zara? Is that why it's that? Are they sold in Zara? Is that why?
No, they're only sold online. It's just that we wanted to do it on the other side of the street, but SAPO said there was something else happening, so we couldn't. So they allowed that side.
All right. So no amplified sound, no influencers or celebrities.
No.
Only coffee and hot chocolate, or just hot chocolate?
Just hot chocolate.
Just hot chocolate. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions?
You guys have any questions? Is it a local hot chocolate?
we make it in-house, so yes, but not like a store.
Okay.
We love if you do a local vendor.
Yeah, a lot of the times we do La Colombe when it's coffee, which is nearby, but this guest wanted hot chocolate, these clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Next we have also February 6th, this Thursday, the Prada SS25 wallpaper event at 575 Broadway.
Spring summer.
Was it?
Spring summer.
Spring.
Not a ship.
Okay, hello, welcome.
Welcome. Hi.
Hi.
Nice meeting you all.
You too, thanks for joining.
My name is Paulina. I'm executive producer at KCD. We an event production agency, and we're working with our client Prada on the store event on February 6th. We're going to have a few production elements on the street on February 6th. We're planning on queuing the line alongside property line on Prince Street. And main guest entrance will be at 575 Broadway. We'll be queuing guests on Prince Street with a security, and we're going to be clicking people in, giving them wristbands, and then guests will be asked to proceed, enter the store through Broadway entrance. We're going to create a barricade and station lines in front of the store, as well as we're going to put the barricade line along the building on the Prince side. Once our guests will be wristbanded and cleared to proceed inside of the store, our security will maintain the queue line and make sure that our line is not impeding on the Prince Street subway station. So we'll be monitoring this with the traffic controllers and our security team. On the Mercer side, we'll have a production trailer and a restroom trailer parked right in front of the Prada store, just on the Mercer side. And we also will have a small one-stream recycling dumpster parked on the Mercer as well.
Okay, great. So in terms of, so on the Mercer side, there's not anyone queuing, there's no activation. It's just the use of the curb lane for production vehicles. So that's a normal production type use. And then the queue, you said, okay, so 575 Broadway, the queue is going to run
along the side of the building on the Prince side. That way we're not really impeding on any of the other businesses that on the Prince side, it's actually the wall of the Prada store. So we'll be queuing the lines closer to the building side.
And what time does the event inside start, and what time is the queue line expected to start having people in it?
We're going to expect the line form at around 6:30 p.m. and our event concludes at 10 p.m.
But I guess by a certain point in time, most people have entered the event. Like, do you expect it to tail off?
Our guests are intended to arrive throughout the night. We don't really expect everyone to show up at the same time because it's the open event hours. So it's the cocktail event, and people will be arriving at the different times throughout the night.
And how many people are expected to attend?
350 people through the course of the event.
350 people over 3.5 hours. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And then other than the queue, there's no other activation outside, no music, anything like that, no lights?
No, it is an indoor event, so we only outside for production elements and the guest entrance for the queue line. And I'm seeing Laura's question on the chat about the conflict in the subway entrance. As I already mentioned, the queue line will stop right before the Prince Street entrance to the subway. Our guests will be queued at that point. They will receive the credentials, and our security team with the traffic controllers will be assisting walking them into Broadway side entrance. So that way we're not really impeding on the foot traffic going in and out of the subway.
So, okay. You're planning on wrapping the
start
line
right here.
around the subway?
So it doesn't start until the back side of the subway.
Correct.
Right, and then
Correct.
they'll walk around with an ambassador to get it.
Correct.
Is that the optimal way of doing it? Couldn't you run the queue the other way?
Broadway?
Broadway or no? Is there a reason you chose to do it that way rather? Is it, I guess, you wanted to do it along your own shop wall, or?
Well, the reason is because we're not impeding into any businesses, and this is just the wall that runs from Prince from Broadway into Mercer, and we're not impeding on any businesses except the subway entrance.
Yeah, there's nothing along that wall. So I guess it's either you're gonna go in front of other businesses or you're gonna have to wrap around the subway.
Yes, we'll plan also ropes and stanchions and a barricade as well on the Broadway side, just to make sure we crowd controlling and making sure that we keeping the pedestrians traffic to go and flow through Broadway on the curb lane. But besides that, the main queue will be on Prince.
And are you gonna have security outside as well?
Correct. We have 2 security at the Broadway 575 entrance, 2 security at the start of the queuing line to assist with making sure that we queuing people correctly, checking them in, and then 1 security on the Mercer side to make sure that all clear and all production elements are staying clear on the Mercer side as well.
Okay.
Is this open to the public, or can you just tell us a little bit about the event itself? Is it advertised, or what are you doing inside?
It is a invitation only. It is for fashion professionals and the main clients of the brand.
Any other questions in the room? Pete has a raised hand. Pete, would you like to have a comment or question?
Yeah, thank you. It seems that the subway entrance has been covered to some degree, but just be aware that that intersection, 3 of the corners have extenders into the street to make room for pedestrians. This corner does not. It's the only corner at that intersection that is not extended. So that it's just a really, really crowded corner. And what was said about having ambassadors there to give credentials outside, that would have to take place down Prince Street, I would think, because if you're adding that activity to the area at the top of the subway stairs on that corner, I think you're asking for congestion that's not necessary. But good luck and thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, to ease the concern, again, our queue line will start at the bottom section, at the back section of the subway. So we're not coming near the actually stairs for people to go in up and down. We're actually starting, let me say, prior to subway structure itself.
But you have to get the bodies from Prince Street around the corner to the doorway into Prada, and therefore you have to cross in front of the stairway to the subway. There's no way to avoid from Prince Street to.
I think what he's saying is if you can give the credentials out before you have them cross in front of the subway, that will at least relatively mitigate the issue.
Well, that is the plan.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much.
Of course.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to, I'm not sure if anyone from the Amiri coffee truck could join. If so, please raise your hand now. We heard they might not be able to make it. Okay, we can come back and check on that one. So now Lululemon, there's 3 different events. I think we can cover them all at once. They're all different Lululemon workout studios. So let me promote.
Same location, different dates.
Yeah, same location, different dates.
We're gonna lower Pete's hand.
What's that?
I'm gonna lower Pete's hand.
Oh, yeah.
Pete, you want to lower your hand?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm able to lower your hand, Pete, but it's still raised.
I think we need, well, we need to be like promoted as like.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Kimo, or Zachary is my real name, but I am a producer with Salt Productions. We are producing a activation at 210 Lafayette Street in Soho. It's called the Lululemon pop-up studio. We are applying for curb lane permits for load in and load out, and also during the activation. And yeah, if there's any questions that you may have as far as what is going on with the project.
So
Why don't you tell us?
So yeah, if you could just
tell us what you're going.
Tell us a little bit more what's happening. So this is a 210 Lafayette pop-up. I guess you're just applying for 3 back-to-back permits because the event's going on for over a month.
Correct.
So yeah, can you just tell us a little bit more about what's going on? That would just give us some more color. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. The curb lane permits is for us to load in as we'll be building a studio inside. There'll be private classes that will be online registrations only. We have a capacity of each studio. There are 2 studios in the space. The one studio will have a capacity of 40, and then the next one 50 to 60 guests can be invited in that space. Yeah, and then those permits are just for us to be able to, we'll have a dumpster during load in, so we can just put trash in there, and then it'll be released during our activation dates, which are February 24th to March 9th. And then the next permit we're applying for is just to bring that dumpster back for us to removal of the trash.
Okay, so the event doesn't actually start inside until the February 24th.
Correct.
But you're going to have load in from the 9th to the 23rd. That's all load in days?
Correct.
And that's to actually build the studio?
Correct.
So what's going to be happening and sort of what during, I guess let's talk about the load in.
Mm-hmm.
What hours are you going to be bringing things from the curb lane across the sidewalk into the store?
Correct. Yeah, we'll be starting around 8 a.m. each day, and then we'll be building as we go on, hopefully ending at a reasonable time around between 5 or 7 p.m.
How large is the dumpster that you're bringing in?
A 12-yard dumpster.
12-yard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just have load in during those days, and then between the 24th and the 9th, what's going on then? Is it really nothing's really happening outside? Are you still having any activation on the sidewalk?
Nothing on the sidewalk. We will have a small line queue. We do have a lower capacity of attendees, so we will have security on the outside to make sure everybody has signed up before they enter the space. But once classes begin, there's nothing on the sidewalk.
So you can't just show up for a class. You need to pre-register, and there's set capacities. So that should hopefully prevent any large queues from forming.
Yes, exactly. That's the goal.
So if someone shows up and didn't sign up ahead of time, you'll just tell them you have to go sign up online?
Unfortunately, yeah, they'll be turned away.
So will it be on Zoom also?
No, this is all live in person.
And then what's the loadout period? That is through the 19th?
We applied for the permit to the 19th, but it'll actually be from the 10th to the 15th. We'll be out.
Is it only classes, or will you be selling merch?
We do have a point of sale area in the space, but this is only for attendees.
Got it.
And what's the draw? Is it special instructors doing the classes? Is it just because?
We have instructors that are tied into with Lululemon that will be teaching specific classes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We do have it'll be a spin class downstairs, and then more of like a yoga studio up on the first ground floor.
If you love Lululemon, then
Yeah.
do their class.
And I guess that's what it is. Because you're not giving away clothes or anything. Okay.
And I saw you're doing, thanks for filling out the questionnaire. That's super helpful. You're doing open bar and stuff. You know, you have to get like permits.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, we have our caterers that will be applying for those permits, and then appetizers and stuff like that for handouts.
And this is outside of our purview, but I saw that you're playing music at a level of a workout class, and I know that's a residential building, so I assume I would let the residents know, give them your contact information. We have this is a new pop-up space in a district that already has a lot of pop-up spaces. So as gracious as you can make yourself to the residents, I think that'll start us off on a good
No,
foot.
absolutely. We've been in talks with the landlord and making sure that the residents are understand.
And I think before this, it was a furniture store. So we've never really tested the sound here.
Oh, I know where this is. It's the old furniture store. Yeah. What is it?
And sorry, where exactly are the vehicles and the dumpsters going to go? Because it is, we're looking at the maps and right in 210 all the way down to Broome.
No, we have that permitted just in case. We will not be needing the whole street. The 12-yard dumpster is going to be right in front of, there is a crosswalk. I forget what restaurant that is, but right now on Google Maps, there's like a shed there right now.
Cafe Select.
Yeah, so we're planning on putting the dumpster there, and then our pickups will be regular and we may be able to remove it even before our activation dates. This is just for us to have just in case during our load-in that we're not piling up trash or anything like that on the street.
Putting the dumpster in front of Cafe Select. You're putting the dumpster in front of Cafe Select, where the shed is?
Where the shed is currently, correct.
Have you talked to Cafe Select about that?
No, we haven't. But
I think that might be an issue.
Okay.
Why are you putting it? Oh, you don't want to put it in front of your own space. You want to put it.
No, it's a no standing zone.
They can't put it right there.
I mean, we'll follow whatever is best with you, what you feel. We just thought since that's closest to the building and then away from the crosswalks, but if there's a better placement for that dumpster, totally open to that.
I don't understand why there's no standing zone there. It's like a pretty low traffic area with the street closure, but
it's people making it's people turning into the right turn lane to turn right on through.
What about south? Can you go south or no? At least then you're in front of Italy, and it's a pretty big building.
That's the right turn.
That's the right turn.
No, you can't be there.
That's right.
This is
all right. Well, I mean, it seems like there are some places, but you definitely would need to consult with any business you're going to put, a dumpster in front of for weeks, for sure. You say it's only 5 days to load out, but it's going to take like 2 weeks to load in.
Correct.
How long will the dumpster be in place? From what day to what day?
We are planning on placing the dumpster on the 13th and then looking at leaving that there until the 23rd. But it'll be once it fills up, we are removing it and replacing the dumpster.
Right. And then do you bring it back for load out?
Correct. Load out.
And so what are those dates?
March 10th to the 15th.
Are you doing any alterations to the facade of the building?
No.
Okay.
But when you said in your application where you said paint and power tools, is all that inside?
Inside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear no alterations to the facade because other nearby pop-ups have been, and no extra lighting, right? Outside.
No.
And so Adam said something, what's going on Crosby Street? That's because Adam had said there's something on Crosby.
Oh, we held that as well, just in case if we needed additional parking for production vehicles, right? Currently we don't, but we just had that in place just in case.
Okay, so you want to have the dumpster on Lafayette, but you want to have extra parking available on Crosby just in case.
Just in case.
Okay. Got you. Anyone else?
Good.
Oh, Laura has her hand raised. Adam says we can move the dumpster to Crosby in front of our own store if they have to. Okay.
So 14 feet long dumpster by 7.5.
12-yard dumpster.
But that's 14 feet long.
12 times 3.
36.
Yeah, 36.
I just wanted to point out that the Lafayette Street side is right next door to the two venues we've been having problems with way too many productions going on with the sidewalk. It's just, it's actually the area I had in mind when I asked about if there was a moratorium, because it's getting, this is a month. And I just feel for the people living there. And honestly, for me, it's an issue. I'm on that block almost every day. There's a new business that just opened up on that block. I don't want them to be harmed by sidewalk, and other barriers from people getting and free movement along the block. With concern. If you have questions about the traffic, the no standing there was put at the request of myself and other people in the community. Community Board 2 helped us get it. And it was to ease issues of traffic coming up from the through traffic coming up from the Williamsburg Bridge, turning onto Lafayette and then turning onto either Broome or keeping on going to Canal Street. This actual frontage, this building, this site has had cars go through it during the turn, and this is one of the things that we were working on to try to avoid happening. So we don't want to see cars going through the window again of this door. And that's all I wanted to say. It's just getting to be an overuse of our area. It's not only production, but film crews. We just finished having filming on the area, on that square block for last 2 weeks. I think we had about 5 or 6 days worth of filming going on with film trucks. It's getting impossible.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought this was 214. That's the other one that
214 and 212. No, 212, not 212. 214 and 218, I think it is.
Yeah, it's like pop-up row.
Yeah, it is. It's pop-up row.
All right.
It's becoming problematic. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know. Pete has his hand raised from the last time. I don't know if he has a comment.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. 2 things. For a number of months, Lululemon has been doing workouts on the sidewalk in front of the store on Broadway. Is this moving that activity into a building? Is this substituting the sidewalk activity into a building, or is this entirely different?
I can't speak on that event as we weren't part of that, but our event is all indoors.
Can we hear
Run Club?
I think we did hear. Is that the Run Club or is it different workouts? I don't know, Pete.
The Run Club is what was causing.
Yeah, they came before us a few months ago.
I think is that the one we denied?
Maybe.
I think we denied one of the Run Clubs. Sorry, go ahead.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
So how many times a day will this workout be happening in this location when it's active?
We'll have 4 classes a day, 2 in the morning and then 2 in the evening.
Okay. And I might suggest that the dumpster in front of this building at 210 Lafayette would certainly keep cars from driving along Kenmare and straight into the window. Or the dumpster could be placed next door in front of Cafe Select, who for many months kept up their shed when they shouldn't have. So there's a couple of options other than Crosby Street for the dumpster. Thank you.
But they can't do 210. Yeah, I don't think SAPR will let them. It's a no standing. But anyway, okay. They know what their options are for the dumpster, I think. All right. Let's move on. I don't see any other hands raised. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So we're now going to go to sidewalk line queuing Mott Street, February 13th through 16th, Mott between Bleecker and East Houston. Hi, Aubrey. Hello, how are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, good to see you.
Good to see you guys as well. Interesting presentation at the very beginning. I love a little refresh of what SAPO is doing and any new regulations that take place. So very informative.
Agreed.
Thank you for hosting. Okay, I have my screen to share. One sec, sorry. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is a production permit. It is for line queuing only. There will not be any other aspect of the event actually outside of the space. The actual venue is the 302 Mott Street. It's an indoor activation, so everything's going to be kept indoors. They're just having the line queuing outside just to kind of keep things neat and tidy as this activation takes place. So it is in celebration for Valentine's Day. Prada is hosting a little bit of a fragrance launch. It's not a launch, sorry, it's just a promotion. So the fragrance is already out there. It's just a promotion of their fragrance. They want to be able to invite people along to this pop-up location, which will be hosted from the 13th through the 16th, so four days. We'll get into the schedule of the days in a bit, but guests can come in and join Prada, receive a very small some fragrance tips from the Prada beauty professionals, receive a little tiny fragrance sample, and then there's also like an old school style photo booth that will be taking place as well. Each person inside will have 3 to 6 minutes to kind of enjoy the inside of it and get the promotion of the fragrance launch and then be about their way. The outdoor portion will be the line queuing piece. It is rope and stanchion outside against the actual storefront itself. There will be about 25 people in line at one given time. There will be security, 4 security guards per day, and then 5 staff for check-in as well to kind of monitor the line, make sure it doesn't get over that 25 number. If it does, then people at the very end will be asked to sort of circle around and come back and not necessarily gather on the sidewalk. That's why the security will be there to sort of stop any sort of gathering or any bottlenecking or any, any sort of obstruction of the actual sidewalk as well. So again, I said the dates were the February 13th, which is a Thursday, and going to Sunday, February 16th. The location is the 302 Mott Street. It is an empty storefront that is being rented out for this pop-up, and it is between Bleecker and East Houston Street. And the timing will be 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. each day for guests to come and join. There will be the 4 security guards plus 5 staff for check-in and line organization. There are small samples that will be distributed. Nothing will be distributed outside of the venue. All of the activity will take place inside the space. It is a small space, so that's why they're asking for only 25 people in line, 25 people in the space at any given time. And they will help to kind of make sure that they don't go above that number, because it's a small space. They don't want it to get crazy. And I don't think it will be. That's why they're hosting it for these 4 days, to allow people to kind of come by at their leisure at a good time where it's not too busy. There won't be any celebrities or influencers. There's no amplified sound. There's no food and beverage. There's no generator set outside. And the sanitation plan will maintenance staff and any of the brand ambassadors will do quick checks outside on an hourly basis, as well as before the event actually opens. And then also each evening as well, they'll do a walk of the space outdoors to make sure that any pieces did not make it outside on the sidewalk. And they're leaving the space as clean as when they found it as well. So the run a show the Thursday through the Sunday. The staff and security will be on site at 11. 11:30 is when the rope and stanchion will be set up on the sidewalk, close enough to the venue so it's not impacting the full sidewalk. 12 p.m. is when the they open the space to guests. 6:30 p.m. is when the line will be cut and guests will be asked to return the next day. Rope and stanchion will be removed and put inside at 6:45. 7 p.m. is when the space will close, and then 8 p.m. is when staff and security will leave the site each day. This is a small map that kind of shows a little bit of where it is. It is on Mott Street on the east side, closer to Houston, East Houston. East Houston is on the right side of the place there, and it kind of shows a little bit of how it will be flowing in here. The map does not show, but it does mention that there will be 5 feet of walkway present on the sidewalks, which security will help maintain and make sure that it is clear for any pedestrians to walk by if they don't want to actually enter into the space. So pretty simple, hopefully. That is pretty much the gist of it. I guess I'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Aubrey. I always appreciate this format.
I try to make it as clear as possible so there isn't any, any surprises.
So you said you're going to try to keep the line at 25 people?
25 people. That's why they're doing it for 4 days. So it's basically, and there's no promotion because there's no celebrity, there's no influencers or anything like that. They're basically like, it's a surprise and delight moment as people walk by of like, oh, what's this? Oh, I can go in and kind of be a part of this, get a little sample, get a little picture taken. They say old school picture. I think it's just a regular picture that you actually get the physical picture, which doesn't happen anymore. I think that's old school now. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's why they're doing it for the 4 days. So it is sort of a Valentine's Day promotion for their current fragrance. And they will keep it to the 25 because where the opening on the 302 Mott Street to East Houston is pretty small anyway. So that's the space that they're using for the line queuing. They don't want it to get crazy. They just want it to be like a fun little event in celebration of Valentine's Day and Prada. So that's kind of what it is. They'll tell people, like if the line gets too crazy, hey, you got to come back and circle back when the line is a little less chaotic and you can get in there. But I don't think it will be because it is, 7 hours each day and there's 4 days total.
Is there a plan if more people than expected show up?
Well, they're going to be told that they can't wait in line and they can't wait on the street and they can't bottleneck and they can't create groups to block the rest of the sidewalk. So they'll be asked to kind of come back when the line is a little bit less people as well. So that's why there's enough security to be able to manage that, and there's also 5 staff to be able to also organize the line as well.
Got it.
There's so much room to queue across the street. They can go hang out across the street. There's like nothing there. It's just the side of CVS.
Yeah, that's true.
Then that's up to them, but we're not permitting that for the line queue. It's just more of like, if you want to wait across the street, go ahead. But yeah, we're for our line in front of the actual store, we're keeping it minimal.
Your line doesn't go in front of any residential entrances, right? You're the whole storefront up to Houston?
Yes, it's a very small one. It's like right on the corner of East Houston and Mott. So there's only so much space right there. The doors on the north side of that venue or like that little space.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just using from the doorway down to East Houston. That's it. And there's they measured it out, the security and production team measured out about 25 people can wait in the line at once. So
once the line gets to Houston, you say come back. Go wait at CVS across the street.
Go wait at CVS across the street and come back. Yes.
Cool.
Go shop at CVS and come back.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything else? No. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great night.
You too.
Yep.
Okay. Next we have February 14th, Edicted Valentine's Day. Tyler? Welcome. Hi.
Thanks for having me. It's hard to follow up with Aubrey because her presentation was so good. So I will try to walk you through everything as best I can.
Great.
This should be a simple, like, one-day activation. We're looking to activate from 1 to 5 p.m. It is in celebration of Valentine's Day. We have a store on 518 Broadway that we would like to activate at. And we will have some components going on in store in terms of like a DJ, some sweet treats. They'll just be like custom candy hearts, et cetera, that'll be given away to the customers. But we're looking to permit right outside of our space to have a floral truck to give away free flowers to the first 200 to 300 people. And that will be the customers leaving the store. So customers that make a purchase will be able to, no, sorry, the DJ is in the store. Everything is in the store except for what we're looking to permit, which will be the floral truck right outside of the store. And that is, again, for the first 200, 300 people. Once the florals go away as more of a surprise and delight for the customers, the vendor will kind of wrap up and leave. So yeah, it's a 1 to 5 time frame that we're looking at.
So how does it just work physically? So the first 200 or 300 people to show up, you're gonna send them to the truck in the curb lane, or you're gonna just give, like, how does it? Yeah. Yeah,
basically it'll be like once they make the purchase, they'll head out the store. It's ideally the floral truck is right there. They'll get their florals, like they're already gonna be pretty much pre-packaged and, you know, ribboned up and just handed the florals from the floral truck and kind of like on their way.
Yeah. They need to like show their receipt or something to get it, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of lax with it as well. I think we'll play it by ear, but like ideally they'll have like a pink bag or a receipt, and they'll just like grab it and kind of be on their way. Depending on like what the traffic is that day as well, like we're working with the vendor to like hand out some to people that are walking by and might be curious, but like ideally to keep there not being a line, it's kind of just leaving the store, grabbing, and then being on their way.
Got it. And so once you give away the 200 to 300 bouquets, then you're basically done?
Correct. That'll be pretty much the activation outside. It'll be all wrapped up. And then inside, like I said, we'll be having the like Valentine's Day type event from 1 to 5, but that'll really just consist of like, you get free stickers with your purchase or little conversation hearts or whatever.
Got it. Okay. And there's no amplified sound outside?
No amplified sound. We do have like 4 brand ambassadors that are going to be on site in case to like clean the sidewalk. If for some reason, I hope no one's dropping their flowers, but in case, we will have people there kind of just, you know, being on site to help manage. And if for some reason, you know, line does get out of control, our vendor doesn't really expect it. But we will have 4 people kind of helping manage that. The plan being, I think it's like, we're right near the corner. So ideally going to like, I think it's Prince Street, but like I said, it's already pre-packaged and stuff. So it should be very quick, the experience.
Okay. Gotcha.
There's no packaging though on the flower. It's just a flower, right?
It's a flower arrangement. They'll have like bows on it, and it will have like the Addicted sticker, which is our branding. So, and then the truck will be branded like Addicted as well. So like we'll make it a cute little pink truck. It's, when I say truck too, it's like, it's very small. It's not like a truck. It's more of a cart. But it will be branded pink with their Addicted logo and more of just like a surprise and delight for Valentine's Day.
On your application that you're using a local vendor. We love that. Thank you.
Yeah, Sophie Licious. Shout out to her. She's great.
Nice. Ed Ma has his hand raised. Ed, do you want to ask a question?
Sorry. So thank you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, what was that?
Ed, do you have anything to say?
No questions?
Okay. No. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at another application. I apologize.
Oh, No worries.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Cool.
Tyler, wait, Tyler, just for my notes, sorry, are you with Addicted?
I am, yeah. I'm the brand director. So this is my first time doing this. We're in LA, but excited to connect with you guys because our Soho store is very popular.
I've seen it pop up. You guys have gotten a lot of traffic.
Yeah,
Thanks
no, great.
for
Hopefully,
coming.
hopefully it'll be a nice, surprise and delight for the community.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. I think this is our last one coming up. Maybelline Gansevoort Plaza. Okay. Amanda, I promoted you to panelist. Amanda, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, welcome.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. It seems like my camera is not working. Oh, there I am. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so my name is Amanda. I work for Vector Media. I'm sure you guys might be familiar with Vector. We do a lot of events in like the Soho meatpacking area. But this is my first time being on the community board meeting. So hello, just wanted to introduce myself. So I was going to share my screen really quick, just so you can kind of see where sometimes my computer doesn't let me share my screen though, so it might not be. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, there we go. Okay, can you see my screen here?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, so this activation is for Maybelline. They're promoting their Teddy Tint line of lipstick / lip tints around Valentine's Day. They will be utilizing our LED digital trucks, accommodated by a few brand ambassadors, popping up in different locations around New York. So one of them being this Soho meatpacking location that we're looking at. And they're giving away the free samples of the Teddy Tint lip products. So the location has changed. So I was working with Sabo on Friday and today, and they actually said that the slip lane on 9th Avenue between 14th and 15th Street would be better than Gansevoort Plaza. So we are looking into this slip lane now instead of the Gansevoort Plaza. So the activation times are from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We'll be loading in from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Trucks load in, we set up. It's pretty simple. And then we're open from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., closing down right at 8, and then we'll load out by 8:30, 9, and that's pretty much it. That's kind of our whole run of show right there. And then this is the slip lane where we will be parking. We will have 3 trucks just parked kind of back to back along this lane right here. And then we'll have a stanchion and queue kind of coming this way, welcoming people in this way. We'll have our brand ambassadors just kind of circling right here. It's a very, very quick, they take their lip tint and then they go. Maybe they'll take a picture with the truck, and then, we'll keep everything moving along. It's very, very quick. We'll be giving away around 500 of these, and they're valued at about $13, only 1 per person. And then this is what the trucks look like. You can disregard these bottles. This has been removed from the event, and as well as this pink fuzzy border around the trucks. That's not going to be there. So these are the LED trucks. If you're not familiar with what an LED truck is, it's basically just a truck, like a box truck. These are 20 feet long. And it has a digital screen on 3 sides, and it will allow us to play like a static image or a video, sometimes sound. We will most likely have sound, but it's not very loud. You can't hear it unless you're right near the trucks. And so that's pretty much it. And then we'll have our little mascot here. His name is Teddy. He'll be hanging out inside the truck right here. And that's pretty much it. Trash, we don't anticipate making a lot of trash, but if we do, we will have, we'll take everything with us. For security, we'll have one security guard on site, just kind of help managing the line. We really don't anticipate there to be a very long line at all, since it's such a quick thing. They pick up their lip tint and then they go. But we will have them on site just in case. And yeah, that's it.
Thanks. Yeah, we had a similar event come before us. Well, not similar, but we had another event come before us that had video LED screens that I think we determined are not legal in New York City. So, do you have a different view as to the legality of using LED advertising screens? Because I think we had looked this up for a previous event.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's not what SAPL told me. They actually said that we should move it to like the slip lane because of that. Well, not because it's illegal, but because it'll be less of a distraction for oncoming traffic for drivers. They never told me that it was illegal, though. We do use LED trucks in New York City driving around all the time. We've never been stopped. We've never been ticketed. They're quite common. I see them all the time. I don't believe that they are illegal in New York City, but that could have changed.
Yeah, I think, well, we'll check, but I think our view is we had looked at it before, and I think we had issued a denial for a separate event that had the same idea, but we'll look into it and we'll check with SAPO. But I think in general, people find them, pretty, causing disruptions to see kind of flashing screens driving around everywhere.
Okay.
Instead of the screens, could you do something else to promote your product?
I mean, in terms of
on the kind of LED,
like we could, but this is what the client has chosen for their asset, and we want to make sure that we try and make it happen for them, however we can. The screens themselves are really not very distracting at all. I mean, we can keep it a static image if that's better. We can cut it down to 2 trucks instead of 3. We'll work with you guys to make sure that it's the least distracting as possible. We obviously don't want it to be a disruption of any kind. So I'm just gonna follow SAPO's lead here. This is what they've told me. I had a whole conversation with them on Friday where they specifically told us that we should move to this slip lane because it's a little bit distracting for oncoming traffic, and also that the trucks are a little too heavy for the delicate pavers on the actual plaza. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay.
So are you confirmed moving, or are you still figuring that out?
Where I just changed the request in my portal today. They just told me on Friday that we should move it, and then I'm just waiting for them to approve it.
Just so you know, we only go up to 14th Street, so that would be a different community board.
Yeah, I asked someone about that today, and they said that I should still come.
No, you should, and it's great. Thank you for being here, and it's your first time, and it's such a thorough presentation. We appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, happy to meet everyone too. I'm sure we'll all see each other again.
I didn't even realize. Okay, so the new location is up north of 14th.
Yeah.
Well, then this might be kind of moot anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Sorry to just throw that at you, but we should try to clarify the rule on our end. So let us do that.
Okay.
But we may not even have standards.
But I think if the trucks are too heavy for the stones in the plaza, we would ask that you not do it there.
Yeah, of course.
Like SAPO did.
Right. Yeah. SAPO told us to move, so we're okay moving. It's totally fine. If we have to move to the slip lane, it's totally fine.
Okay, let's just follow up with SAPO on this one because we need to clarify a couple things.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Anyone else have anything before we close it down? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Let's move to business session. Okay. What did everybody think of the presentation? Thought it was great.
So
I will write up a report. I think particularly helpful was the open data on past events, which we didn't have last time.
And the ability to just text them photos so that we could do it immediate and not like go through the Google.
All right, so I think that was really productive. So I will go ahead and write up a report on that. Should we go through in order? So I guess the first one we heard was the new product launch. That was item number 4.
All right, which one? New product?
Lululemon?
No, the first one we heard was the new product launch.
All right.
Which was item number 4. That was the Laura Mercier.
I thought it was fine.
At the magazine shop.
Color match.
I don't like all the repeated events.
It's literally just on the street. Like the shop has nothing to do with it. It's like very.
It's like they're renting the sidewalk
street
space. But if it's not illegal, we can't. I mean.
Well, I think we should just say that we're not convinced that there's 5 foot of pedestrian egress.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Especially with the tree pit, which
This
counts.
is starting in 4 days, so we should just comment in the system.
Yes.
I think, can we just do like a deny unless and say deny unless there's 5 feet of, there really is 5 feet of pedestrian walkway, and then we can comment to SAPO that we're not sure there is.
Did Pete write that the streets were 12 feet wide?
Yeah, but there's a tree there. Yeah.
He wrote that.
Yeah, so if it's 12 feet wide with no tree, there is 5 feet, but there's like a big tree pit right there is what we're saying.
And I think there's like fire hydrant somewhere right on that corner.
Yeah.
And then I think Laura said it in the chat, but I agree. There's a photo op, and sure, even if you have a bistro table, but someone stands in the middle of the street and takes the photo, right? And then people can't walk between the picture and the photo. Like it extends out even if the table doesn't extend out. So I don't understand how that would work.
So it's happening in 4 days. Why don't we just say deny unless there's 5 feet? And then we'll just flag it to SAPO. But I mean, it seems like there's only 4 days to tell. So we should just tell them for the future. Like,
I mean, if this is where we're drawing the line on the sand in this venue, then I think we need to be a lot more upfront with any future applicants and more upfront with SAPO. It's very unfair for them to come up here to a place that have done a lot of events with us, and for us not to make a bigger stink about it, both through their faces and to SAPO.
Well, in the past, I remember the last person that did an event here, and it was like you get a ticket somewhere else, and then you take the ticket and you get a coffee and you walk. I can get behind this venue for a take and walk.
Yeah.
I can't get behind where there's a photo op next to the door. The whole thing takes place outdoors. So I would say like the last one where you get a ticket and keep walking, I can believe that wouldn't, I don't know if I still like it, but I can believe it wouldn't be illegal. This one, I'm like, how on earth is this not going to be illegal? So I'm less of a like.
What do I do? Want to do approved provided and then just flag it to SAPO and say this is repeated, approved provided there's actually a 5 foot walkway as required?
They can go out and measure. They say they go out with entering. I would suggest that they go and measure it.
I would also say, I'm just anti-foot. How do you measure a photo op? Because you don't have a carpet, you can't tell. Like, you already have influencers taking photos everywhere, and every time it's like everyone goes into the street, and that street is not a go into the street, and there's a bike lane right
All they have to say is, we're just putting out a table and chairs in case people want to sit for a minute and not say it's a photo op. And then I'm just saying, I'm not disagreeing with you, but that one I wouldn't be so worried about because you just can omit the words and a photo op.
All right. So why don't we just do an approved provided that there's an adequate walkway?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen in 4 days probably, but we should flag to SAPO.
Yeah.
And then we should actually go look and see what the impact is.
What day?
Is that what you're saying, or were you saying something else?
I mean, I was more saying, regardless of what we do, if we choose to be like, we're not allowing anything else at this place, we don't believe the sidewalk is there, we need to raise a bigger stink of it to the applicants as they come in front of us and to SAPO so they know to not send us anyone.
Well, if we're going to do that, we should go and measure it.
Yeah,
if we're going to say absolutely not.
I'm fine with this.
So let's do approved provided. Why don't we go by and see what this looks like, and we can also measure, and then we can decide, because it's clearly becoming an area where there's a lot of stuff.
So
we should at least know what the measurements are. Yeah.
Meet at 5:30 next month. And
are we
go
okay with that?
it.
Yes. Okay. Any opposed to that approach?
Yeah.
Okay. Any abstain? Okay.
First one.
Now going back to the start, Boohoo, standard food truck.
Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate instead of coffee,
Standard
yes.
hot chocolate truck. All right. Everybody okay with that? Yep. Opposed, abstain. Okay. Prada.
I was wondering, why don't they distribute the perfume, the Prada perfume that they're trying to do over there on the sidewalk line queuing?
Wallpaper.
Oh yeah.
Prada's really spending all their marketing budget on activations right now.
I think the only 350 people over 3.5 hours doesn't seem problematic. There's no lighting or music outside. I think the only issue is the subway thing, which I think they addressed as best as they could. So
if they're just clearing people to go in, it should be fast.
Also, I think if it's like invited people and it's early February, they're not going to want
you spend $1,000 in the bag, and they'll invite
It's a Fashion Week event.
They'll invite you.
Yeah. All right. We all good there? Any opposed, abstain? No. Okay.
Is this week Fashion Week?
Amiri didn't attend.
One of them.
So should we? Again, it's happening in 4 days, but I guess our policy is no show, deny. Are we all okay with that?
Yes.
Any opposed, abstain? Prince.
Doesn't matter, it's going to be on the 7th anyway, so.
Lululemon. Actually, as far as the pop-ups down there go, yeah, we've noted before, and we can note again that this is an area that's heavy for pop-ups. This doesn't seem as problematic as some of the others. They're not having crazy stuff on the outside. They're not having lighting.
But these exercise classes that are
classes at night.
But the exercise classes they're having on the sidewalk, did they come in front of us for that?
It's not. It was a run club, so they were congregating.
That's the run club. Okay, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with
it. It's better to take it inside than outside.
Yeah.
Okay, we all okay with that?
Yes.
I'm fine. Do you want me to note that we should flag to SAPO that this specific corridor inside of Lafayette is a little inundated with pop-ups?
Yeah, it's becoming pop-up row.
And also they're putting their their dumpster in front of another restaurant.
Well, yeah, we can flag that.
And is that for 5, 9, and 10, I assume?
Yeah, that's all 3 of them. Okay, we all good with that?
Yeah.
Mott Street. Let's see, all the queuing ones, this meeting didn't seem so bad compared to what we've seen in the past. I think that one seems very low impact. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Okay. Edicted seems fine. It seems, again, 200 to 300 flower bouquets. When they're gone, they're gone. People just get them on the way out.
Only one of each kind. Even
have to buy something, though, right?
Yeah.
Buy something.
Well, they said they're not going to be 100% strict on it, but. All right, we all okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I recuse, abstain. Okay. I mean, this one, I don't even know if we have standing, like, it's not going to be in our district anymore.
Yeah.
Should we vote on it if it's in the plaza?
It's not in the plaza, she said.
Well, she changed the application yesterday. So I guess the application as it stands is not ours to vote on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I don't like the idea of anything with LED advertisements.
Yeah.
Or if it's going to ruin the stones in the plaza, hard no.
Yeah.
Also, I have to abstain on this anyway.
Should we just say, like, if it were to be in the plaza, given that we've heard it might destroy this plaza, that we're against it, but we understand that it's moving, and then we can just withdraw it. If it ends up moving, we can just withdraw that resolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Any opposed to that approach? No. You can't have something that's literally going to damage the plaza. If moving, withdraw resolution. Okay.
So I'm going to say.
And you would have to abstain if that works.
I was going to say I have to abstain.
Recuse.
We might want to leave a note. I mean, I can't imagine this hustle in front of CB5 or whatever, but
Eric would
just say that. Otherwise, it seems like
L'Oreal is at the end.
we would have approved if it was on the sidewalk.
But I don't know if I would have approved with the LED. My view at least. I'm not in favor of anything an LED advertisement.
Well, I feel like we just need to know if it's legal, because we can't really say.
Find out for sure.
It does feel pretty like impactful from a stimulus.
We literally had another event. Like, do you guys remember? It was like an even less impactful event. It was like a short pop up where they were going to come.
A bus.
They were going to come and like do something on the sidewalk really quickly with LED. And I think we determined at that time that they weren't able to do that.
It was a bus going around the city.
Yeah, but we should have someone clarify the law.
Was that when they wanted to do the dance outside?
Yes.
Yeah.
I Googled it and it says some types of LED trucks are legal and some aren't.
Yeah.
Laura
And then I went into the description and I can't.
Laura put something.
No, yeah. You're not supposed to have anything on a vehicle for any kind of
commercial
advertising. You can on TLC, yeah, which we've seen. I think for this one, we have the denial in any case if it's in Gansevoort for the stone reason. Let's just leave it at that. If we find more detail on the actual law, I mean, it seems like it may be illegal. We can put it in. Okay.
Yep.
Are we all good there?
Yeah. Would SAPO know if it's illegal?
They may not know, but we should.
No, I'm just curious.
I thought we had determined, I'm pretty sure we determined last time that it was, and we might have a couple experts on our board that we can check with.
Here, I'll reference the code that Laura said.
I just Googled it.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone have anything on the FY renewals? On the back.
No, well, what are we gonna do about San Gennaro?
About what?
San Gennaro.
San Gennaro. Nothing's gonna happen with San Gennaro.
I don't think he's wrong. It's getting really, really bad.
I think we have to keep raising any issues that we hear, and we're going to have them present to us before the festival again, and we can raise them ourselves too.
Well, I wonder when the SAPO lady is doing the kickoff with them, if we can just comment, or if there's an opportunity for us to submit comment, or just something where it's not us doing the same thing, just out of like obligation, but feeding in some way that's additive.
We need to bring them back in as we have in the past for many years. For a few years, we haven't brought them back in. But I always remember how much they speak about garbage we collect, this and that.
They claim they collect all the garbage for everybody.
So apparently it may not be totally true. Maybe they're being a little lax lately.
Also, I don't know, when I've gone down there where they have those rides, I don't know if that has anything to do with us, but the rides, they're just crammed into those little doesn't look safe to me.
I mean, yeah, they never look safe.
I've seen a little bit.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It is getting.
It's really.
Crazy. I didn't even know there were.
It's getting worse and worse. I would say this last one especially, and I don't know how you feel. It's in our neighborhood. I walk by every single day on my way to work and back. And it's like people are way too drunk. There's trash everywhere. I've seen people like peeing, like passed out. It's like, it's really bad for the neighborhood. It's terrible.
I would dislike it less if it was actually like more interesting, like food and vendors and stuff.
Well, I feel like it's become a drinking fest.
Yeah.
And that's not the spirit of it. And I think that's what's making everything so noisy, so rude, so gross. So
I mean, we're not that old, but I remember when it was really an Italian festival. It was Italian food. It was,
not that I would ever want to.
I'm just saying it was a different type of thing.
Yeah. My ex-girlfriend bought me a San Gennaro t-shirt to troll me after I complained about the festival.
Well, should we ask for a meeting to collect comments?
I don't even know if we need to meet with, it sounds like it's a foregone conclusion, and what she said is like, what I gather from what she said is they also have a lot of issues with it. So I wonder if we can just comment.
Let's see if we can
participate.
If we can participate, they usually invite us to do the walkthrough, or at least Mark.
Maybe we could all do the walkthrough.
Maybe we should ask to I think be part of the earlier conversations as well.
I would love to do the walkthrough.
Yeah.
Bill, when is it happening? When is this one? When does it happen?
When? It's the same time every year. It's September.
June, right?
No, I think it's September.
September. We've got a long time to figure.
Should we vote really quick on the FYIs if no one has anything?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, recuse? Do you have anything else?
We technically can't vote on CB2.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we can't vote on CB2. Not allowed to vote on our own festival.
Oh, great. I didn't realize we had one. It would be interesting to agenda at some point in the future a discussion on that moratorium.
On which one?
On the multi-day street festival moratorium.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just put these in business.
I agree. It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of crazy that like they're not allowed to change any of the old ones and like you're locked in almost no matter what.
Well, you know, I also don't know administrative rulemaking processes in New York, but
there's a hearing on it, I know, every year.
Yeah.
So they have to do a hearing on it every year. And then again, I don't know who makes the final decision, but we've had that with some other festivals that it's like, do we really need them anymore? They're taking up all this space on Broadway. And it's like they're part of the moratorium, so they'll never go away. This is Rocio's favorite topic.
I mean, for me, like at the very least, rotate in new people for fresh.
Agreed. Yeah, it's like there could be people with really interesting ideas that never get a chance to do them, and then it's like the same people who've been doing it forever and ever. They're locked in. Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting topic.
That's a great topic. Maybe they rotate that certain people don't get it for certain years and then open up.
Every year you.
Should we find out when the hearing is and like maybe the month before agenda it?
Yeah, we can. I think yeah, it's fine. I mean, we can find it. We don't have to do it right now. We can find it.
Yeah, we just email them and figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Good. Anybody else?
Nope.
Your business? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye, Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Bye, Ed. Bye, Laura. Bye,
there she
bye,
is.
everybody. Thank you. Bye. Bye.